silver, and Bitcoin prices are brought to you by Brave Botanicals. High-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven. The Liberty Beat and Brave Botanicals believe so strongly in the power of kratom, we're giving it away for free. Just go to libertybeat.news/free kratom. This is the Liberty Beat at snlsnetwork.com. In the news, Trump's new secret watch list allows government to track political and information activists with no warrant. That headline comes from the Free Thought Project, which reports that the Trump administration has created a list for the first time since 9/11 that includes American citizens with no connections to terrorism. Like the FBI's original list, the new watch list, dubbed the Transnational Organized Crime Watch List, authorized through a classified Attorney General order and launched in 2017, is expected to grow to well over 1 million names. According to an in-depth Newsweek investigation, the list also allows the government to track and monitor Americans without a warrant, even when there is no evidence they're breaking the law. That means law enforcement in America can now reportedly track and monitor Americans who have not been accused of any crime, and do so without first obtaining a warrant. Ever wonder where we find all the news to report right here on the Liberty Beat? Visit snls.news to get the world's most censored media published all in one place. Save yourself from the endless time spent searching for reliable alternative media. SNLS News makes it quick and easy. No ads, no clickbait, just raw headlines, 24 hours a day. Visit snls.news and get informed today without the corporate media spin. Your news now continues. In a landmark decision, the German Constitutional Court has ruled that mass surveillance of telecommunications outside of Germany conducted on foreign nationals is unconstitutional. Activist Post calls it a major victory for global civil liberties, but especially for those that live and work in Europe. Many will now be protected after lackluster 2016 surveillance reforms continued to authorize surveillance on EU states and institutions, and permitted the BND to collaborate with the NSA. In a press release regarding the decision, the court found that the privacy rights of the German Constitution also protects foreigners in other countries, and that the German intelligence agency had no authority to conduct telecommunications surveillance on them. The court also decided that, as currently structured, there was no way for the BND to restrict the type of data collected and who it was being collected from. Unrestricted mass surveillance posed a particular threat to the rights and safety of lawyers, journalists, and their sources. Rebecca Jones doesn't expect her replacement at Florida's DOH's Division of Disease Control and Health Protection to provide the same level of accessibility and transparency that she had been committed to providing as Geographic Information System Manager and architect of the state's lauded COVID-19 data and surveillance dashboard. Jones blames that very commitment to data accessibility and transparency as the motivating factor for her reassignment on May 5th. Mid-Press News reports in an email to a local CBS News affiliate in Tallahassee, she made the explosive allegation that superiors at the DDCHP had asked her to cook the books and, quote, manually change data to drum up support for the plan to reopen, end quote. When she refused, Jones was taken off the job and offered a settlement with the option to resign. Support for the Liberty Beat is brought to you by the Homestead Guru. The Homestead Guru is an educational website offering tips, tools, news, stories, and commentary on everything homesteading. Topics include green homes, gardening, animal husbandry, do-it-yourself, home remedies, alternative energy, survivalism, unschooling, and more. Those details are found online at thehomestead.guru. This is the Liberty Beat, powered by the SNLS Network at snlsnetwork.com. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
As of today, the average cost of a pack of cigarettes has gone up to 2 hand jobs and a stick of beef jerky. For more, we go now to Onion News Network prison economics expert Hal Rogan.
The prison economy runs on cigarettes. They're involved in every economic transaction at some stage, from contract killings to naked woman picture acquisition.
Right.
That's why we've got shampoo at 6 batteries. We've got tattoos at 50 commissary stamps.
Now, for what it's really like out there in the market, let's check in with major cigarette trader Big Dap Ramirez. Big Dap, nice to see you again.
Thanks, Rick. Good to see you. What's happening, Hal?
How's it going, Big Dap?
Now, it's obviously a boom time for cigarettes cigarettes right now.
I'm getting a lot of hand
But with
jobs.
prices this high, analysis shows you're going to be seeing a drop-off in real sales soon as consumers turn to smoking grass fajos.
Look, we've been through this before. The market teaches us not to panic. But if I learn anything in this game, it's that a wife or girlfriend will pass off a few decks in the boneyard. Supply will normalize, and we'll see cigarettes returning to a single hand job or less.
Big Dap, best of luck to you. We'll keep checking in on the story with Hal throughout the day.
Thanks, Rick.
Moving on to some happier news. In Atlanta today, 2 snitches were beaten to death.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Welcome, everyone, to Free Talk Live Radio, where you control the airwaves. You do so by calling in at 855-450-FREE. That's F as in freedom. 855-450-3733. And in studio, we're joined by...
It's Ian.
And I'm Vincent, and today I have some very special news item I want to begin with, right? I'd say this is good news, and I made it a point to... collect I'd say a balanced amount of positive news and negative news, and I think we're starting to turn a corner here. So here we go. You have it. Donald Trump is committing civil disobedience and refuses to wear a mask in Michigan. Here, this is from the Daily Mail.
Good for him.
Donald Trump is finally pictured wearing a mask during private tour of Michigan Ford plant, but defied its boss by refusing to wear it in public, and is called a petulant child who isn't welcome here by state's attorney general. President Trump was finally photographed. Okay, so they repeat the headline and the subhead. So, in public, the president showed off a navy blue face covering with a seal of a president on it, but added he didn't want to give the media the, quote, pleasure of seeing him wear one. I wore one in the back area. I didn't want to give the press the pleasure of seeing it, Trump said during the tour of the Rawsonville components plant. I had the goggles and the mask. Trump had been reluctant to be photographed wearing a face covering and is reported to have said it would send the wrong message as he pushes to get the country focused on reopening from the coronavirus pandemic.
I agree with him. I think that it's important for those of us who, and I'm not saying Trump believes in freedom. He doesn't. Clearly, he's the president. But for those of us who believe in freedom, for those of us who want to have, and even if you don't believe in freedom, even if you want to have some semblance of normalcy and not go full steam ahead into this insane medical authoritarian state that is rising up. If Trump is pushing back against that, I appreciate that aspect to what he's doing. Now, he's not pushing back against it wholesale. He's not going on every issue, speaking in favor of freedom. But in this particular instance, he's right. People wearing masks, especially people who are freedom lovers, wearing masks is absolutely sending the wrong message. This is totally a potential cultural shift that we're looking at here. And it's one that I don't want to see happen. And if you want this to not happen, you've got to not be on the side of the people wearing masks.
Absolutely. I don't understand the people who go to the protests and rallies wearing masks. It's like, well, what do you believe? Do you think that we shouldn't have a shutdown, but we should all be social distancing and wearing the masks?
That's what those people believe. Yeah. I mean, without actually having to ask them directly, but as my understanding, there is a viewpoint out there that somebody sort of holds a middle ground where they think that the COVID threat is real. They believe what they've been told. Maybe they don't believe all the details of it, but they basically buy it. And so they are practicing these things while at the same time holding the belief that the government shouldn't be mandating them. That's a fair thing to say. I don't buy what the government or the medical establishment is saying, so therefore I'm not going to join them in that. But they're not wrong from their perspective.
Well, I have to say, as a member of the press, I could appreciate President Trump not wearing the mask for when he does interviews, because those masks make it not impossible to hear, but it absolutely wrecks the it just wrecks the quality of the sound recording, right? Like I saw, was it Senator Ted Cruz was giving a statement to the press outside of Shelley Lawfare's hair salon, and he was wearing a big dumb-looking mask, and the audio was absolutely atrocious. And there's even been instances where the press would have to remove their masks in order to ask the question, just because
they can't be understood.
Absolutely, yeah. So other than calling him a petulant child, the Michigan the Attorney General says, is going further. Michigan requires people to wear some type of face covering in public and closed spaces, thanks to an executive order signed by Governor Gretchen Whitmer at the end of April. There are no fines for violating the order, but stores can refuse to serve those without the coverings.
Oh, can they? I don't know about that. I think there's something to the argument that some people who are anti-face masks have been arguing, is that there's all these stupid government rules that normally we would oppose, right? Like ADA mandates or whatever, the FDA or whatever rules we're talking about here, that that essentially say you've got a healthcare privacy. HIPAA is one of these terminologies, Healthcare Privacy Act or something like that. And the idea being that it is none of their business what your malady is. If you say to them, and this isn't legal advice, but it's my understanding, if you say to some store clerk who's like, you've got to put a mask on to come in here, and you say, I've got a medical objection to that, and they can't be like, well, sir, what is your medical problem? They can't do that by the government's by the government's own system. So given that they are trying to use the government system to enforce this upon us, there's nothing wrong to use the system to stop this from being enforced upon you.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. But actually, we have a story coming up about Whitmer losing in court again a second time. So I mean, they say all of this, but is it But are they telling the truth? Probably not.
I think it's a big bluff, honestly. Even like from their own perspective. Again, I don't believe in the state and the system and all of that. But even if you do, there's a strong argument that even within their own system, what they're doing is unconstitutional. What they're doing is illegal. And we have seen a number of charges against these folks drop. I don't know if you remember the pastor in Tampa Bay who got arrested early on. Yes. Charges dropped against him. The lady down in Texas, I don't think the charges have been dropped against her yet, but she was released from jail by the Supreme Court there. So there have been a few instances here and there where it's like, oh, well, maybe they don't want to go forward with these prosecutions. Maybe they were just flexing their muscles, so to speak, like, well, we're going to arrest you. And then they drop the charges later. So the idea is to send a message to the average person, like, if you mess with us, you're going to jail, even if the charges get dropped later on. I mean, because like if you take, for instance, the example of Christopher Cantwell, the former co-host here on Free Talk Live, who we had to fire because he became a racist, sadly. But, they've wrapped him up with some charges that the federal government has. They targeted him. They raided his home earlier this year, and they hit him with some total BS charges that, honestly, I mean, as despicable as his views might be, he doesn't deserve these BS charges.
Interstate threats, I believe, correct?
That was one of them. The other one was interstate extortion, which actually I believe contained a greater potential sentence. I think it's like up to 15 or 20 years just on the extortion charge, and then like another 5 years for threats. But it's all BS. Both of those charges are BS, and I think he would win in court. However, they've managed to just hold on to him, put him in a cell, and just sit him there for, what has it been, 4 months now at this point.
And try and bankrupt him since he's unable to make money while he's in prison, unfortunately.
Correct. He can't pay his rent. He can't pay his car bill or whatever, right? So they're screwing him over and essentially punishing him without ever convicting him. And so they can do the same thing to these business owners. The reason I bring him up is they can punish these business owners and do economic damage to them, do damage to their reputation as well, and then drop the charges later. And there's no damage to the government for doing that. There's no penalty for a prosecutor or for a judge or whoever. Judge puts the salon owner from Dallas in jail. Supreme Court lets her out 2 days later. It's no skin off the judge's back.
No.
He doesn't have to give her money out of his paycheck.
Yeah, he doesn't have to cover the legal defense fees.
No. They can do whatever they want to do, and if it's illegal, then they might lose later. But even so, they're still spending your money. They're spending taxpayer money to do this little experiment. And they know that the further they push that, they're going to get away with it because only so many people will push back.
I'm glad you bring that up because I think there is going to be a pushback now and I think the term for it is lawfare. At least one of the terms for it is lawfare, where they target you outside of the law just by using all these trappings. And this... I think there is going to be a pushback just because I have a story coming up here on Obamagate, right, and the FISA abuse, and how they tried to do, how the Obama administration, Justice Department, FBI, and the domestic intelligence apparatus tried to railroad and use lawfare against a member of a Trump cabinet at the time, General Flynn. And so if they could do it to a big hot shot, war hero as they call it, like General Flynn, they could sure as hell do it to just the average regular people. 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
The next generation wallet is coming from Divvy. In just a few taps, you'll be able to send, earn, spend, and exchange digital money in seconds. Send money around the globe with only a swipe. Instantly exchange between Divvy, Bitcoin, and fiat right in the mobile app, and withdraw directly to your bank account. Divvy already offers the first one-tap solution for earning passive income with crypto. Multi-tiered masternodes allow everyone to partake in the network. Visit DivvyProject.org. DivvyProject.org.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you receive the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at AnyPayInc.com. AnyPayInc.com.
This COVID-19 thing has turned the world upside down. Regardless of what you believe about it, it has changed our lives. But what's not changed is that if you own a business, you need to advertise to reach new customers or clients. Our audience is not the kind to stick their heads in the sand during a crisis. They are fully engaged and more active than ever. Special advertising packages are available to you to help you not just recover, but thrive. Email my sales manager, Matthew at freetalklive.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
right, welcome back, everyone, to Free Talk Live Radio, where you control the airwaves, which you could do so by calling in at 855-450-FREE. That's F as in freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And in studio, we're joined by...
It's Ian.
And I'm Vincent. I want to talk to you about localbitcoin.com. Now,
no,
local.bitcoin.com,
yep.
Excuse me. The mic messes up my depth perception here in front of my face. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements and to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Now, finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. That's local.bitcoin.com. And I just had a little bit to finish up here of Trump's foray into activism and civil disobedience, right? Refusing to wear a mask in public when touring a Michigan business. And the cited reason he gave was that he didn't want to give the press the satisfaction of seeing him wearing a mask. And the Attorney General of Michigan is not happy about that. Not only not leaving it alone by calling him a petulant child, she's actually, I guess, threatening as much as they're able to, right? So in Michigan, you're required, by the executive order, you're required to cover your face, but there's no fines for the order, but stores could refuse to serve those without the coverings. So now the Attorney General, Dana Nessel, a Democrat, says, honestly, if he fails to wear a mask, he's going to be asked not to return to any enclosed facility inside our state.
Oh, are you just asking?
Exactly,
okay.
yeah.
I will respectfully decline.
Exactly.
Although I don't respect you, government goons.
Trump said that he did it. Okay, so now this is where it's unfortunate. Instead of just saying he's not wearing a mask because he has the freedom not to, he's giving a reason. He said Trump says he didn't have to wear a mask because he's been tested for coronavirus and was tested again that morning. The mask prevents someone with the illness from transmitting it.
He's right about that, allegedly, right? That's what the claim is about the mask. They say that it will stop, and it makes sense that to the extent that, yeah, it's obviously going to lessen the amount of spray coming from somebody's mouth. Right?
Absolutely. And so he was touring looks like for a Ford plant, and the Ford Motor Company executives, they said that they gave him the choice if he could wear the mask or not, and he chose not to. So good on them, and I just want to end it on the most Trump way possible. Trump did say the mask looked good on him when he wore it backstage. It was very nice. It looked very nice, he said, of wearing the mask out of public view, and it had the presidential seal on it.
Gross.
So, I mean, I wonder if this is going to encourage some of the fence sitters, right, who may be pro-Trump or not, to stop wearing their own silly masks out in public. On the topic of Michigan here, this is some good news, right? This is published today. Gretchen Whitmer loses again to 77-year-old Barber. Judge rules shop can remain open.
Really?
Loses again. So she was very persistent about it, or not her, obviously, but her government. So it's from Breitbart, published today. Carl Mankey, a 77-year-old barber in Owasso, Michigan, has defeated Governor Gretchen Whitmer and Attorney General Dana Nessel in court for the second time in about a week. The Argus Press reported Judge Matthew Stewart ruled that Carl Mankey will not have to close his shop after the state again failed to prove he was in imminent danger to public health.
Excellent.
Stewart said the state did not arrest Mankey when he was cited, so he didn't represent, quote, an immediate health danger. The Attorney General has not presented any studies underlying the doctor's conclusion.
That's an interesting... Hold on. Who made that claim? Which attorney?
The judge.
The judge did?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. So the judge is saying here, oh, well, they didn't arrest you? Well, obviously you weren't that serious of a threat. If you were really a serious health threat, these experts or whatever would have arrested you, as though the police were in some way, experts about that. But maybe it wasn't the police that issued it. Maybe it was the Department of Health or whatever. Maybe I missed that detail here.
But yeah, he just said, he did the state.
The state.
Right, the state. And they're not giving up. Nessel's office, the Attorney General.
Because, hold on, before you go on, it would have looked really bad, right? Like, whenever the state goons come and arrest a 77-year-old man, it doesn't look good. I mean, unless that old man is wanted for murder or rape or something really serious, it's hard for anybody to take that seriously. Or, I mean, they'll take it seriously and that people will get mad, right? Like if you're messing with somebody's grandpa, it doesn't look bad, or it doesn't look good. So that is an optics thing, right? Like the state doesn't want to be, even though it's tyrannical, even though it's evil and it does horrible things, to some extent, they do still have this sort of public relations thing that they have to do to some extent to make themselves look somewhat within control, somewhat reasonable, somewhat understandable, and most people wouldn't understand. They'd be outraged by that 77-year-old man getting arrested.
Well, it's a good point, although I wonder if now, this time, since they know what it's going to take for him to...
Will they do it now?
Because the Attorney General's office is seeking to appeal the ruling.
Okay.
Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs suspended Menke's license without a hearing.
So he's continuing even on a suspended license? That's awesome.
Yeah, and his it gets worse though, right? The government's just straight up attacking him verbally. His attorney says
I'd rather they attack verbally than throw him in a cage. So.
Yes. So the attorney, David Kalman, told radio show host Steve Gruber that it's unbelievable abuse of power and that there's no legal basis for the action. Quote, this is pure retribution by the governor's office and the AG. This is so petty and vindictive, it's beyond the pale, Kalman said. After her defeat, Nasal attacked, and that's the attorney general, attacked Menke publicly. We want him to discontinue his conduct, which we think is aiding and abetting the spread of a virus. Nessel claimed, Mr. Menke, she sighed, he's not a hero. He's not a patriot. A patriot is a person that fights all enemies, foreign and domestic, and does everything possible to protect his fellow countrymen and countrywomen. To me, Mr. Menke is...
So Menke, to her, is the enemy. She's saying she's the patriot. She's saying, I'm fighting to protect everyone. I'm going after this Barber. I'm a patriot.
Well, the way I interpret it, she was saying that the enemy was the virus, and he was aiding and abetting
That's
the
right.
virus.
That's what she's saying. And that she's the patriot because she's going after him, making him the bad guy.
And she finishes here, to me, Mr. Menke is doing just the opposite of that, and he's being selfish in his behavior, the Attorney General declared. This is like Ayn Rand's nightmare of a government forcing people to shut down their businesses and calling them selfish.
Well, everyone's selfish, including the Attorney General. Okay, she's going to position herself as though she's this selfless woman. I'm a true patriot. I'm putting myself on the line, going up against this 77-year-old man. And I'm going to do what it takes to put a stop to him cutting people's hair. And she wants people to buy that she is somehow this selfless woman, when the reality is these people are selfish too. The people who, and I don't know what she believes, right? But presuming she believes that coronavirus is as big of a threat as she's acting like, then, she believes ultimately the idea that the state is creating this safe place for people and she's doing the right thing and this man is a danger.
That's right. But we have some even more good news coming up. Trump says he won't close a country if second wave of coronavirus hits. Should we be trusting the plan? This is Free Talk Live.
Stop it. Shave Secret doesn't cost much and is an all-American product. My name is Chuck Howard, and I developed Shave Secret and pioneered its use starting back in 1991. Ingrown hairs drove me nuts for years. Shaving oil changed all that. Why put up with ingrown hair, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts? Shave Secret provides men and women with what we believe is the best shave ever. Our proprietary blend of 100% natural base and essential oils plus a hint of menthol was designed to help eliminate shaving irritations like ingrown hairs, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts. We'll lose those shaving irritations. Available at Super Walmart, H-E-B, Wegmans, Giant Eagle, Discount Drug, Navy and Marine Exchanges, Amazon, and ShaveSecret.com. Use the code FTL for Free Talk Live and get a discount. Shave Secret, the best shave ever.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you receive the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at AnyPayInc.com. AnyPayInc.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to Free Talk Live Radio, where you control the airwaves, which you can do so by calling in at 855-450-FREE. That's F as in Freedom, 855-450-3733. In studio, we're joined by...
It's Ian.
And I'm Vincent, and I have another piece of good news here, right? And I mean, it's important to be realistic about things, but also it's important to be optimistic. Otherwise, you become an absolute depressed alcoholic. And so... there's been a lot of doubt regarding Trump's handling of a coronavirus, especially when it comes to the whole country's economy shutting down. He essentially gave free rein to the state governors to enact a shutdown as they see fit, and they would use the guidelines set up by the executive branch, right? Primarily by Fauci and Scarf Lady Dr. Birx. And people were wondering why is Trump just sitting back while these crooks are allowing the economy to be destroyed? That Trump is going to lose the election if the economy isn't fixed by the fall. And it looks like he's finally taking some sort of action against this here. This is from CNBC, published today. Trump says he won't close the country if second wave of coronavirus hits. And now, before we get into it, I'm just curious what he means by him, because it's the governors that are the ones closing it. So would he... I think for some...
He didn't close the country this time.
No,
right?
he put it into the governor's hands. And so I'm wondering if it means that if let's say Sununu closes, by way of New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu is going, it looks like we're never going to reopen until months and months from now. But let's say Sununu shuts down the state again and starts arresting people for not wearing masks or for having their businesses open. I think what the executive branch could do is have a Department of Justice go after the states for civil rights abuses by throwing people in jail for running for businesses or deeming businesses non-essential.
I mean, I don't support the federal government generally. I don't support the state governments either. And so if they're going to fight each other, I got no problem with that.
Oh, and I mean, I think it's an example of why it's good to have a balance of power where you have the states to check the federal government if the federal government's doing something bad, but then you have the federal government to check the states if they're doing something bad. And I'm just going to use an example, not that I agree with what the government did, but I think it was President Eisenhower who deployed the National Guard to, I think it was Alabama, or there was some state that refused to
forced integration.
Yeah, forced integration. Yeah, that refused to have forced integration. And, it was public money, right? Anyways, so that's beyond that. But that's an example of the federal government forcing the states to do something it didn't want to do for, quote, the public good. So it's very possible that that's what Trump could mean by that. But
Well, we'll see.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. We got to wait till the first wave is done before we even start thinking about the second wave, right? And I think they're talking about the second wave because they know that the cat is out of the bag, the jig is up, that more and more people are waking up to this hysteria. So President Donald Trump on Thursday said, "We are not closing our country if the U.S. is hit by a second wave of coronavirus infections." He says, "People say that's a very distinct possibility. It's standard," Trump said when asked about a second wave during a tour of a Ford factory in Michigan. Quote, "We are going to put out the fires. We're not going to close the country," Trump said. "We could put out the fires. Whether it's an ember or a flame, we are going to put it out. But we are not closing the country." Trump, and I imagine when he says ember or flame, he talks about just like
the economy.
Like outbreaks, right? Ember or a flame. Like embers as being outbreaks in certain areas that could spread to others. Like people are saying that there's outbreaks that have recently been started because people are leaving New York, which is like the worst hit place in the country. Trump has previously said there may be embers of a pandemic that persist in the U.S. past the summer, but he maintains that they will be stamped out. Health experts, including those in the Trump administration, have said that the virus will likely continue to spread through the fall and winter and may become even more difficult to combat once the flu season begins.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine how bad this would have been? I mean, it's bad as it is, right? Like millions of people are out of work. And
you mean the good bad is in the government response, not bad as in the pandemic?
No, what I was going to say was it's bad now, but imagine like all these stupid rules that have been shoved down our throats. Like here in New Hampshire, for instance, restaurants can only serve outdoors. Well, it just so happens to be the warm part of springtime by now. So it's like, okay, well, this is normally the time when then, tables would go outdoors here, right? Because we're in New Hampshire. It's freezing cold for a number of months. It is not a time where people can go and eat outside. Imagine if they started noticing the COVID-19 infections in China 3 months prior to when they did, right? So instead of January or early February, it was, October. And then we're 2 months in January. And what are they going to do? Have it so people eat outdoors in the middle of the wintertime? They're not going to do that, right? Yeah. That's not going to happen. No one's going to eat outdoors, even if it was allowed. So then businesses would just be up S Creek without a paddle for another 5 months. So the timing could have been worse on all this, but of course it's all the government goons' fault. All of the economic devastation is completely the fault of these government gangsters and, of course, the average person for going along with it. Because if the average person, the average business owner hadn't done what they were told, we wouldn't have seen this insane devastation. So everybody who went along with this bears responsibility for it.
Oh, yes. I'm glad you bring that up. 100%. We got to remember these people. We got to have, well, maybe not their ugly faces memorized, but we got to remember their names just so if they ever make any sort of other prediction or any sort of other policy suggestion, right, whether this is in like just a regular organization, a political organization, because there's been a lot of so-called libertarians who've gone on board with this, we got to make sure they never get a say ever again unless they publicly admit that they were wrong soon, right? Not after it's been proven like, and this is why Representative Thomas Massey was so adamant about there being a recorded roll call vote with the first stimulus bill, because if it's just what's that stupid thing they do, like a voice vote where people just shout over each other, then if this is a disaster, after the fact, people could say, oh, I was shouting no at the top of my lungs, and there's no way for them to be able to tell. So yeah, absolutely, right? The people, I mean, the sheeple bear as much of a responsibility as the government and the media, because I think a lot of them sort of just willingly went along with it just because some people enjoy being scared. So Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and a member of a White House coronavirus task force, told the Washington Post this week that he has no doubt there will be a wave of new cases. Well, of course, yeah, otherwise he wouldn't have a job anymore for no more new cases, right? They'd stop talking to him on TV. State leaders, not the federal government, have imposed harsh restrictions on residents and businesses to try and slow the spread of a disease. But with the U.S. economy straining under the social distancing rules, Trump has loudly called on the country to begin the reopening process. All 50 states have now begun some level of reopening, including New York, the epicenter of a crisis in the U.S., even as cases continue to rise in some parts of the country. So now just some updated numbers here, apparently according to the article. So it started in the city of Wuhan, they claim, spread around the globe. Now there's more than 5 million cases confirmed worldwide and 328,471 deaths, according to data from Johns Hopkins University.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's just based off of the testing and such, right?
Well, that's not a whole lot of people.
No. But I wonder when they're going to claim, because mind you, we're at right now, like the end of flu season is May, right? It's early May, and flu season is for most of the year, at least in like the New England area, it's most of the year because it begins.
Is it?
Yeah, like it'd be at least for like schools and such, right? And obviously, flu season's going to be worse for people who go to school because it's like a petri dish of germs. School as in like elementary, high school, or even college. It begins around November, right, when it first starts to get cold. Then it goes all the way until May, right? You've heard of getting a spring cold before. And I'm sure as soon as it hits November or October, right, or as soon as there's the first snow, they're going to say, oh, we gotta do this all over again. Because I saw in the news they said tens of thousands of lives could have been saved if we did social distancing a week earlier. That was, a week earlier when the very same media was saying that you should go to Chinatown, you should hug Chinese people, that the flu or the common cold is even worse. So we're really desperate to keep this hoax, this charade going. But luckily, we're exposing it all together. Coming up, which state refuses to return back to normal towards the vaccine? This is Free Talk Live.
Houseflies defecate every 4 to 5 minutes, spreading diseases and germs. Protect your food and your health with Bug Assault, a miniaturized shotgun, which utilizes ordinary table salt as ammunition. Non-toxic, no batteries required. Only $39.95. Use discount code GCN and get an extra 10% off your purchase at bugassault.com. Fire your fly swatter. Get your Bug Assault today.
This is a pandemic survival alert, and the most time-sensitive messages you will hear this year. You still have time to plant a 1-acre crisis garden and secure a supply of your own nutrient-dense food. But time is running out, and it's one deadline you don't want to miss. Who should plant a crisis garden? Individuals, families, churches, communities, anyone or any group that sees hard times ahead. Let's face it, even the mainline media is talking about food supply disruptions and the growing number of grocery store workers who are becoming sick. But there's more. Meat packing plants are closing, mile-long lines at food pantries, and more farmers now in financial trouble. The truth is, growing nutrient-dense vegetables this summer may be the single most important thing you do. Go to survivalseedbank.com and watch the new video to understand what we're really up against. Get free bonus seeds, special quarantine reports too. Don't wait, every minute counts. Go to survivalseedbank.com. That's survivalseedbank.com.
Are you afraid to go to the mailbox because of letter after letter from the IRS? Are they stacking on more and more penalties and interest? By now, you know the problem won't go away on its own. Don't let the IRS chase you to your grave with penalties and interest and liens and levies. You need real help now. I'm Dan Pilla. I wrote the book on tax debt settlement, and I help thousands of people solve tax problems they thought couldn't be solved. I can help you too. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, danpilla.com. That's danpilla.com. danpilla.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
Join the LRN.FM Discord for live chat 24/7 at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to Free Talk Live radio, where you control the airwaves, which you can do so by calling in at 855-450-FREE. That's F as in freedom. That's 855-450-3733, and we are joined by Minister...
Ian Freeman. Hi.
and I'm Vincent, your host for today, and...
I was looking at details about the Libertarian Party convention that is going to apparently happen online because Austin, Texas canceled every convention that was happening in Austin, Texas, and they didn't find anywhere else that they could go, I guess, with the whole COVID nonsense going on. So they're using Zoom to have 1,000 people. Can you even do that with Zoom? I don't know enough about this particular product.
Yeah, I think the most I've seen is like a few dozen. I've never seen. I imagine, just imagine the lag on that. 1,000 people on the same call.
I don't know. I don't know what it would be like.
It's. I guess they can't postpone it, right? Because there's no end in sight for when everything's going to
reopen. No, they have to go through with it. There's in order for third parties like the Libertarians to get on the ballot, there's all kinds of ridiculous requirements, and they're all different in every state. So some of them, they need to have the name of the person by the end of this month. So they have to do this.
Oh, it's a shame. I was going to suggest that they have a convention at Rogers Campground during Fork Fest. That would be great.
That's a good idea.
But it'd be too late by then, unfortunately. So is anything, let's see here, anyone of interest there, Ian?
Vermin Supreme. I mean, the man who should be president.
So there's no former washed-up Republicans there, or any
there probably will be
D-list celebrities there?
Good chance of it, yeah. I mean,
on Zoom.
There's going to be 1,000+ people there, but are you talking about specifically the presidential candidates?
No.
Because John McAfee, he's going to be there.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying, other people who'd go. I actually really wanted to go to this one back before the coronavirus shut down and everything. Yeah, but,
you're not missing much. You really aren't. I mean, I've never been to the national convention, but I've been to state level conventions, and my God, they're so boring with their so-called business sessions where they just argue over you thought libertarians like to argue over crap. Well, guess what? You put 1,000 of them in a room, and then they get to argue over the bylaws and the platform and that crap, the Robert's Rules of Order.
Oh God, that seems so counterintuitive for
for libertarians. And there's all these libertarians who are really into it, right? Like they know Robert's Rules of Order. For them, it's a private rule book, and we've agreed to these rules. And they're like these parliamentarian types who they'll get up on the microphone and they'll say, whatever. There's like a certain thing that like the Robert's Rules people say. It's like point of order, and then they like talk about how you aren't following Robert's Rules, and it's so mind numbing.
The chair does not recognize you.
That kind of crap.
And people end up speaking anyways. Oh man, that does sound awful. Well, I wanted to go, and I've been to plenty of like select board meetings and school board meetings, so I have somewhat of an idea. But it was mainly just to go to like 6th Street and 5th Street in Austin. But many listeners warned me against going there, saying that Austin is not what it used to be. It's been invaded by like the worst dregs of California who've escaped. And it's unfortunate.
Austin's always been kind of a lefty city in Texas, right? It's a little blue spot in a red state for the most part. It's the state capital. It's where you're going to find more of the kind of the bureaucrat types, and there's a college right in the heart of the capital, basically. So it's a city.
But it had, like, at least before, and I haven't been there. I do want to go there at one point. Also, I have friends who live in Austin I want to visit. But it was like a cultural place, right? Like Montreal, like what was it, like Houston or Dallas or more business areas.
It's known for being hip.
It's like the Montreal of Texas.
I don't know enough about Montreal, but the slogan for Austin is "Keep Austin Weird." So, they've got this thing. It's sort of got a musical scene, and it's supposed to be this hip city. But the reality of it is it's just another city with a bunch of bureaucrats and politicians who think they know everything, just like everywhere else.
That's a good point. Although they haven't been as bad as San Antonio, right? I haven't seen
In what way?
Well, you haven't seen the Austin City Council instruct police to investigate people for hate crimes who refer to the coronavirus as the Kung flu or the Chinese virus.
Well, maybe they have. You just haven't heard about it.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good point. But closer to New Hampshire, right, and close to home for me, Pennsylvania, where I was born. We have Governor Tom Wolf. Pennsylvania cannot return to normal without, quote, foolproof vaccine. I'd really be interested in seeing his definition of foolproof. But so this was published today on Breitbart. Pennsylvania cannot fully return to normal until a foolproof vaccine is available, the governor said on Wednesday. When asked
and forced on everybody? Is that the part that's not being spoken here?
Most likely, yes, because if there's that's why they use things like foolproof, bulletproof, because if it's foolproof, why would you have any reason to not take it unless you're a kook, right? You have oppositional defiant disorder.
Didn't you play that attorney Dershowitz on your show?
Yeah, Epstein and Trump's attorney.
And OJ.
Oh, and O.J. Simpson. That's right. That's right. Before my time. But
where he was basically saying, just straight up on an interview with somebody, and the interviewer didn't seem to be on his side, which was kind of interesting. But Dershowitz was basically said, yeah, the state can take you. They can put you in a hospital, strap you down, and they can force whatever they want into your veins. That's democracy, is what he said.
Yeah, I'm
paraphrasing.
And he said he would willingly take any vaccine. Although I did hear some analysis of what he was saying, and the Supreme Court case is from 1905, I forget what it's called, that he referenced what didn't necessarily mean that the government's allowed to stick something in you, right? Because that's like North Korea or China level tyranny. It just gives the government the right to quarantine someone if they have a deadly disease. And I mean, like, I understand if someone has the bubonic plague.
He was saying that people will be quarantined even if they don't just want to accept the vaccine. He was saying, okay, yeah. He kind of said, oh, well, we if you didn't want to accept it, then you'd have to accept staying at home and never leaving your house.
Well, yeah, which is essentially a death sentence in our society.
That's home confinement. You're in prison in your own home.
And for something that has the mortality rate comparable to just the average flu or common cold, which is, is just blatant naked power grab.
I hope that is where we would start to see some significant resistance, because right now we're asking business owners to resist and put their investment on the line. And most of them didn't get into business to take on the government. That's not why they got into business. So they're not going to. But if it comes down to them trying to force individuals to submit to a vaccine, well, then you might see more resistance, because then it's just the individual and it's just their choice. And yeah, it might affect their family members or their ability to pay the rent, but ultimately it's not going to be as much as far as their finances that's put on the line and that they're taking a risk with to say no. So I hope that we would see some pushback, and there has been some so far, some uproar over. I guess there's a proposal that New Hampshire be creating a vaccine registry of some sort. I don't know if you heard about this. But from what I saw, New Hampshire may be the only state right now without one.
Very interesting.
I don't have the details on it.
And for meeting, the government's meeting in essentially secret, for not meeting in Concord, I think for meeting.
Oh no, you can watch and listen on the phone.
What?
See,
that's not the same thing.
Now government meetings. See now, Vincent. Now government meetings are more open, because now you can watch court on video. Apparently, you can watch. I've never done these things, but I've heard that I heard that there was a court case challenging the governor's jurisdiction early on that was apparently viewable by the media on Zoom. I don't know if the average person could go and view it, but. Yeah, no, you're right. They've made it way more difficult for people to involve themselves in the government. It used to be that hardly anyone went to these city council meetings, and now no one can. You can't go.
Yeah, I mean, not that there's particularly any reason to go either. Although, didn't the city of Keene, it's like they voted to give themselves some sort of emergency spending powers.
Recently?
Or I saw that in the headline somewhere.
I don't know. It sounds believable. But think about it like this. I mean, you're right, Vincent, in that we've been to these local meetings before. You've covered them.
For years.
I've covered them for news purposes and just gone as an activist as well. And there's no doubt that most of these bureaucrats and politicians have their minds made up before they go into the meeting. So whether or not these meetings actually help them make decisions about something is another question. I would say it probably doesn't. They probably don't really listen to the people that are speaking to them. But there is still something to be said for packing a room full of people and putting the pressure on to some extent. Having a room full of 200 people, because here that's a full house in the rooms that we have. Having a 200-person standing room only crowd in that room, people to witness them do what they're going to do, to people to speak out and be heard about this, and to have the ability to bring your own video camera in there. And as somebody who's in the media, you should appreciate this.
Oh yeah.
Now they're the ones who set the stage. They've got their little Zoom videos. They decide what the camera angles are. They decide, who's going to be speaking and when. And you can't just sit there with your own camera and point it at whoever you want to get reactions or whatever. You can't do that anymore.
And they could choose to have technical difficulties whenever they want to, if they don't want people listening in on a certain thing, because it gets testy there. 855-450 free app is in Freedom. 855-450-3733. Coming up, we'll be getting into the specifications of what the governor says will be able to open if they could find a vaccine in Pennsylvania.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with the SNLS Network and listeners like you. Online at snlsnetwork.com. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading at $1,753, silver at $17.96, and Bitcoin is trading around $9,512. Today's gold, silver, and Bitcoin prices are brought to you by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven. The Liberty Beat and Brave Botanicals believe so strongly in the power of kratom, we're giving it away for free. Just go to libertybeat.news/free kratom. This is the Liberty Beat at snlsnetwork.com. In the news, Trump's new secret watch list allows government to track political and information activists with no warrant. That headline comes from the Free Thought Project, which reports that the Trump administration has created a list for the first time since 9/11 that includes American citizens with no connections to terrorism. Like the FBI's original list, the new watch list, dubbed the Transnational Organized Crime Watch List, authorized through a classified Attorney General order and launched in 2017, is expected to grow to well over 1 million names. According to an in-depth Newsweek investigation, the list also allows the government to track and monitor Americans without a warrant, even when there is no evidence they're breaking the law. That means law enforcement in America can now reportedly track and monitor Americans who have not been accused of any crime, and do so without first obtaining a warrant. Ever wonder where we find all the news to report right here on the Liberty Beat? Visit snls.news to get the world's most censored media published all in one place. Save yourself from the endless time spent searching for reliable alternative media. SNLS News makes it quick and easy. No ads, no clickbait, just raw headlines, 24 hours a day. Visit snls.news and get informed today without the corporate media spin. Your news now continues. In a landmark decision, the German Constitutional Court has ruled that mass surveillance of telecommunications outside of Germany conducted on foreign nationals is unconstitutional. Activist Post calls it a major victory for global civil liberties, but especially for those that live and work in Europe. Many will now be protected after lackluster 2016 surveillance reforms continued to authorize surveillance on EU states and institutions, and permitted the BND to collaborate with the NSA. In a press release regarding the decision, the court found that the privacy rights of the German Constitution also protects foreigners in other countries, and that the German intelligence agency had no authority to conduct telecommunications surveillance on them. The court also decided that, as currently structured, there was no way for the BND to restrict the type of data collected and who it was being collected from. Unrestricted mass surveillance posed a particular threat to the rights and safety of lawyers, journalists, and their sources. Rebecca Jones doesn't expect her replacement at Florida's DOH's Division of Disease Control and Health Protection to provide the same level of accessibility and transparency that she had been committed to providing as Geographic Information System Manager and architect of the state's lauded COVID-19 data and surveillance dashboard. Jones blames that very commitment to data accessibility and transparency as the motivating factor for her reassignment on May 5th. Mid-Press News reports in an email to a local CBS News affiliate in Tallahassee, she made the explosive allegation that superiors at the DDCHP had asked her to cook the books and, quote, manually change data to drum up support for the plan to reopen, end quote. When she refused, Jones was taken off the job and offered a settlement with the option to resign. Support for the Liberty Beat is brought to you by the Homestead Guru. The Homestead Guru is an educational website offering tips, tools, news, stories, and commentary on everything homesteading. Topics include green homes, gardening, animal husbandry, do-it-yourself, home remedies, alternative energy, survivalism, unschooling, and more. Those details are found online at thehomestead.guru. This is the Liberty Beat, powered by the SNLS Network at snlsnetwork.com. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
And in a surprise announcement this morning, U.S. Deputy Surgeon General Greg Paulson stated that, quote, "It's fine to smoke cigarettes if you only smoke while drinking." The Deputy Surgeon General has called a press conference to discuss the shocking findings, which began just moments ago. Let's go live to that now.
Was there a particular study this report was based on?
Look, that determination was made after considering that someone who only smokes when at bars or parties ends up smoking maybe 15 cigarettes a month, while regular smokers are smoking 150 to 200 cigarettes each week. So we feel that it's just obvious that as long as you don't actually buy the cigarettes and you only smoke them while consuming the alcohol, then the risks of getting lung cancer are basically mostly negligible. Just common sense.
This announcement comes on the heels of the Surgeon General's last announcement that drinking and driving is fine if you ate a lot that day or if it's a route you take all the time sober. Moving on, the Japanese Space Agency has announced plans to put a schoolgirl on the moon by 2015.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to Free Talk Live Radio, where you control the airwaves, which you can do so by calling in at 855-453. That's 855-450-3733, and we are joined in studio by...
It's Ian.
And I'm Vincent, and so we're going to continue talking about the governor of Pennsylvania, and Governor of Pennsylvania, who says that the state cannot return to full normalcy until a, quote, foolproof vaccine is available. And now, like, half of my family lives in Pennsylvania, and, believe it or not, we've actually sort of grown closer during the crisis because my sister, organizes weekly Zoom meetings, for family, and it's like we're talking more each other like every week than we did for like months or years on end. So
how many of your family is in fear of the corona?
Almost none. I mean, I think everyone just wants things to get back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I had relatives to talk to me about how it was done in Pennsylvania was there'd be clusters of counties that would be locked down, and then they'd be opened up based off of, I don't know, some arbitrary thing the government has. And so the county where one of my aunts lived in had less cases than a neighboring county that was closer to, I think, close to Harrisburg or Pittsburgh, and yet they weren't open, but the county that had more cases, ended up opening before them. So, I mean, it's a total... And
well, one thing you can expect from government is inconsistency.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I believe the same thing regarding the nurse... like nursing homes have also been heavily hit in Pennsylvania, just like in New York. Although I'm unsure, I didn't get a chance to look up if the Pennsylvania government ordered COVID-19 patients to go, or people infected with COVID-19 to go into nursing homes like the government in the state of New York did. But so the governor here, Tom Wolf of Pennsylvania, who's a Democrat, says, when asked if a return of large events are contingent on a vaccination, Wolf said Pennsylvanians need to be confident that the novel coronavirus is under control and treatable. So here's the carrot. He said he believes it will take a vaccine or some assurances that we're not going to get sick to attend big events, going shopping, and returning to school. So big events like, I guess, say, like, Eagles game, Flyers game, going shopping, which everyone has, we all need to go shopping, even it doesn't specifically say for essential or non-essential, and return to school. Quote, ultimately, I think what it's going to take for everyone to feel safe, for everyone to feel safe. So he's projecting this onto everyone to say, everyone to feel safe going to Penn State game or a basketball game is that they have some confidence that they're not going to get sick by being in close contact with someone else.
even if they're not going to get coronavirus, that doesn't mean they're not going to get sick.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you're sick with regular flu, sick with just regular colds.
I mean, they're acting like they're going to turn the world or society or whatever into some sort of safe zone for communicable virus, and it's just not going to happen at all.
No, and
I mean, people have been getting infected in lockdown, right?
Oh yeah, that was it. Like 66% of hospitalizations in New York City last month were from people who were sheltering in place.
What's the point?
Power.
Yeah,
to get people to feel.
That's absolutely it.
To remind the people that we're all slaves to them.
Yeah.
He said the state is gonna focus on testing and contact tracing.
Oh God.
Well, I think
that's so creepy.
I think that's what it's really going to take to get our economy back to normal. And
My God.
Yeah, no, it's not what it's gonna take. I'm not gonna say what it. I really think that can't happen fully 100% until we have a vaccine that is foolproof. Wolf said. That's my own stance. Well, I mean, I think that the only way we're going to get the economy normal in that state is if all these people behind the lockdown and forcing the lockdown to government get thrown out of helicopters, because it's not the coronavirus that's going to it's not the coronavirus that's wrecking the economy, right? I mean, it is to the extent where people are afraid to go outside because they think if they go out and get the coronavirus, they're going to have their balls are going to fall off and they're going to have lung scarring forever. But it's really the government that is the government's forced shutdown.
Yeah, if the government gang had not done anything, if they had just simply said, "Here's what we think you should do," because obviously I'd like them to disappear tomorrow, but that's not going to happen. But if they had butted out and let people make their own decisions, let business owners and individuals decide for themselves what level of risk they want to take, then it would be interesting to see. And then if people did shut their own businesses down on their own voluntary basis, then that would completely be on them. Whatever economic damage happened as a result of that would be their fault. You chose to close your business down. You shouldn't be too surprised when you go out of business because there's no one else who wants to come in there. They're going to go to your competitors or whatever. And it would be very interesting to see that world. Now, from what I understand, Belarus did not have, from our basic, what little bit we heard about that country, the dictator there was basically saying, go out to hockey games, who cares about social distancing, have fun, drink vodka. So I think it would be interesting to hear more about what exactly, if any, restrictions were put into place in Belarus, because Sweden's been getting all the press for being unrestricted by comparison, but they aren't unrestricted. There are limits on people gathering in Sweden, like it's a 50-person limit there, from what I understand, and they have cited some businesses, I think, as well. So Sweden may have been less of a ratcheting up of the authoritarian medical state, but Belarus may be less than Sweden.
Yeah, it is difficult to determine without like a pure control group because I think I'm pretty sure maybe I faintly recall a headline that Belarus had to do something, just like something slight. But because and the issue is it's sort of like a collective peer pressure, and I think this is why Trump has sort of played along for as long as he has with this, because if you don't do anything, right? If your neighboring country is in full lockdown and you're not doing anything, even if even if the social distancing and the sheltering in place and everything doesn't do much to stop the deaths, every single death that happens anyway, people are going to say, the hysterics and the chicken littles are going to say, this death could have been prevented if you forced everyone to stay inside. And and so I mean, like I wouldn't say that like Trump and these other world leaders' hands are tied. Like Bolsonaro, right, of Brazil, he was someone else who didn't want the country. His country to just devolve into.
He said some good things, Bolsonaro, during this situation.
And he caught the virus too. He caught the virus towards the beginning. Yeah, and he was coughing at a rally, but he's still alive and he's up there in age. But yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't think they have anything left to fear. I mean, like to put the way Trump said, the cure has been remarkably worse than the disease. So here we go. So continuing on with what the governor, and he keeps digging himself a bigger hole. It keeps getting worse. He says, quote, I think that's what it's going to take to really get our economy back to normal, and I really think that can't happen fully 100% until we have a vaccine that is foolproof. That's my own stance. 2 other Democrat governors have also hinged their hopes on full normalcy on the development and availability of a vaccine. Quote, until a proven vaccine is widely available, we cannot firmly enter the new normal, right? So we're not going back to normal.
Not going back to normal.
The new normal, which is totally just Orwellian, Kafkaesque.
I hate
normal.
And I don't hate a lot of things. I really detest this mask wearing stuff. It's super disappointing to see people doing that. In fact, I was at a local watering hole here today that you and I are relatively constantly going to, at least once a week usually. And I was sad to see the staff wearing masks today, with the exception of one of them. And the next time I'm in there, I'm going to say that I would prefer to not have whoever it is that's serving me, I'd prefer they not be wearing the mask. Now, I'm not going to make them, right? Like, I'm not going to turn around and leave. I'm just going to let it be known that as a customer, it is my preference to see the face of the person who is providing me with the service.
Oh, I'd be curious to see how that goes, hear how that goes.
I don't think most of them want to be wearing them because they didn't up until today.
Yeah.
You know, if they wanted to wear a mask, they most assuredly could, right? Like, a business owner is not likely to tell an employee, hey, take that mask off. You know, you can't be wearing that mask. I mean,
especially now. Like, you know, before the coronavirus, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But especially now. So we're going to, coming up, we're going to hear more about the new normal from a few other governors here in the United States, and also from, believe it or not, someone who makes Sununu look good. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
This COVID-19 thing has turned the world upside down. Regardless of what you believe about it, it has changed our lives. But what's not changed is that if you own a business, you need to advertise to reach new customers or clients. Our audience is not the kind to stick their heads in the sand during a crisis. They are fully engaged and more active than ever. Special advertising packages are available to you to help you not just recover, but thrive. Email my sales manager, Matthew at freetalklive.com. The next generation wallet is coming from Divvy. In just a few taps, you'll be able to send, earn, spend, and exchange digital money in seconds. Send money around the globe with only a swipe. Instantly exchange between Divvy, Bitcoin, and fiat right in the mobile app and withdraw directly to your bank account. Divvy already offers the first one-tap solution for earning passive income with crypto. Multi-tiered masternodes allow everyone to partake in the network. Visit DivvyProject.org. DivvyProject.org.
Gold has definitely been on the move recently, and there is no more secure investment historically. McIlvaney ICA has been helping people take delivery of precious metals and find storage options for decades. They've helped thousands of investors with their precious metal IRAs. Call ICA today for your free portfolio review at 800-525-9556 or download their free report online at ICAGoldSilver.com to learn how you can double your gold and silver ounces even within an IRA. 800-525-9556. ICAGoldSilver.com.
The Relationship Pro talks to your girlfriend so you don't have to.
We're joined today in our demo center by Eric and Pam, a couple that's been teetering on the edge of divorce for years.
So, Pam, you guys have been using the controller all morning. I understand it's a very good listener.
It's like talking to a fully developed person.
It's got to be a major relief not needing your husband to be your partner or a friend.
Oh, yeah.
So, Eric, it must be a tremendous relief to know that there's someone else on the other end of Pam's eye rolls.
Oh, now I can focus on my game instead of worrying about all that stuff she said there.
Will the Relationship Pro keep you two together?
I think it'll drag this thing out for another couple months.
Amazing. Now, to thank you two for coming on the show, we bought you two the new Deluxe Relationship Pro Extreme.
This expanded model has 2 new modes. Fantasy mode, which allows you to select the age and nationality of the controller's voice.
Oh, I choose a voice like my dad's.
Okay. And a hyper-realistic mode that starts fights and then grovels pathetically when it's afraid you might get rid of it.
This is the Onion News Network.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Live video of our key New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
Welcome back, everyone, to this latest edition of Free Talk Live Radio, where you control the airwaves, which you can do so by calling in at 855-450-FREE. F is in freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And in studio, we're joined by...
Yeah, it's Ian.
And I'm your host, Vincent. I want to talk to you about Intercoin. Now, just as the internet is a global network that connects local networks, Intercoin is a global currency platform that enables communities around the world to issue and manage their own currency to circulate among their local population. Intercoin enables fine-tech innovation on the local community level, leading to stronger communities, greater sustainability, less poverty, and more productivity. Intercoin is attempting to regain some of our freedoms that are threatened on the internet and in meat space. We think that this is important here on Free Talk Live. So important that FTL accepted $40,000 worth of Intercoin tokens from Intercoin Inc. for advertising. If you think freedom is important too, check out Intercoin at intercoin.org. You could invest in this project and potentially make big gains, or just be involved and perhaps shape its future. That's INTERCOIN.org. That's intercoin.org. So now, Ian, before we get back to what some other governors here in the United States are talking about, saying what they need to fully reopen in their states to go back to the new normal, you said you have some an update on Belarus.
Yeah, I find Belarus to be the most interesting of all the countries so far, because it has, according to the story at aljazeera.com, which was published a couple of weeks ago, or actually a little less, maybe about 10 or so days ago, the World Health Organization has singled out Belarus because they have a, quote, lack of adequate social distancing measures, and called for the country to shutter non-essential businesses and enforce distance learning. So none of those things are happening in Belarus. They don't have a lockdown. Okay, you can go out, you can do whatever you want. Your so-called non-essential businesses, of course, we think all businesses are essential. I think I can speak for you on that one. But here on Free Talk Live. So all businesses are allowed to stay open unless they want to close. It's their choice. And whether or not distance learning is happening is up to the educational institution. So it basically sounds like there's no real, COVID crackdown going on there. Now, of course, the media is making it sound like, well, Belarus is incredibly dangerous. They start out talking about a assistant film producer who is volunteering as a coordinator, trying to get masks and things like that out to people. So there's still obviously people who are very concerned and have bought into all of the propaganda surrounding COVID-19. But the government itself has not mandated anything apparently on anyone. So it's as close to that control group as you were talking about.
And are the streets overflowing with bodies of the dead, of dead kids that they say is going to die if we don't social distance?
Well, what they're claiming is that Belarus has one of the highest rates of infection in Eastern Europe. Okay. However, that's still not really that impressive. So it says Belarus, a country of about 9.5 million people, so it's larger than New Hampshire, where most people live in urban centers, has been run by the same president, Alexander Lukashenko, since 1994, and is now grappling with one of Europe's highest per capita coronavirus infection rates. However, When you go over and actually look at there's this website that Drudge Report has been linking to for 2 months at the top of Drudge Report. It's called ArcGIS, ARCGIS. It's got that world map with the red spots on it. Yeah. You can click on whichever country and look at the statistics. Belarus, I mean, it is, I would say, in the top 20, maybe toward the bottom of the top 20. I haven't counted. There's not a numbered list, so I haven't counted yet. But it's actually right next to Sweden on the list of total number of confirmed cases, of which there are 33,371 in Belarus, in a country of 9-point-something million people. So that's not a lot of people. No. And further, have you heard the number of deaths here in New Hampshire?
It's less than 100 now? It's like
no.
90 or?
No. It's I believe it's 180 according to Google's numbers at news.google.com. New Hampshire has 3,721 confirmed cases with 182 deaths.
Oh my God, where's my mask? Oh, I had no idea.
Let me compare that to, now again, we're going with government numbers here, right? So we don't know if these are right. We don't know if they're chalking up every death in New Hampshire to COVID or, half of them to COVID or what. And we don't know if Belarus is underdoing their numbers, right? So we don't know. But just going on what the reported numbers are, Belarus has had 185 deaths. So New Hampshire, with 1.4 million people in it and 3,700 cases, has had about as many deaths as Belarus has had. Belarus having almost 10 times as many confirmed cases. Okay, so New Hampshire with 3,700, Belarus with 33,000, but the death numbers are almost identical. Belarus with 185, New Hampshire with 182.
Gee, I wonder if in Belarus there's kickbacks from the government for the hospitals to label COVID-19 deaths.
Great point. What you're saying is that in the United States, there's a kickback going to medical bureaucracy or whatever in order for chalking things up to COVID-19.
And 3 times for using a ventilator, too. They get 3 times the money if they have put someone on a ventilator.
So I thought that was interesting. They're making it sound like Belarus is oh my God, it's one of the worst. Well, it's not really that bad, all things considered. And they didn't destroy their economy either. According to the story here at, again, Al Jazeera, there wasn't much about Belarus in the early days, and there still isn't a whole lot about it. But according to the story, Lukashenko, who's campaigning for the presidential election to be held by the end of August, has repeatedly played down the danger of the coronavirus, saying a lockdown would be ineffective, unjustified, and bad for business and society. He wants to go ahead with a military parade on Saturday. This, again, was written 2 weeks ago, so that's happened by now, celebrating the 75th anniversary of World War II, a move that has raised concerns from Human Rights Watch, which said the event, quote, defies public health recommendations. The president of Belarus said to that, quote, we can't cancel it. Those people died for us. He said, quote, in a lax attempt at encouraging social distancing, that's what Al Jazeera called it, he said, quote, you don't need to drag anyone to the event. So he's right here. Look, if you don't want to go to the parade, don't go to the parade. And it would be interesting to see how many people did go. We could look that up later, maybe.
Who would have thought that an ex-Soviet satellite state values freedom more and has better
than
common
the United
sense?
States?
Yeah. They're not behaving like lemmings, right?
Well, at least in this case, they do. If you look at Belarus on the list of economic freedom rankings for the world, they're not so hot. I mean, they're not up there or anything like that, but they're not terrible compared to China or anything like that. The president's office did deny Al Jazeera's interview request. The country's approach remains mixed. They have so far advised self-isolation for those who've tested positive or returned from a foreign country and said that people should maintain, being the key word there, not must, maintain a 1.5-meter distance. In March, the president said, quote, people should not only wash their hands with vodka, but also poison the virus with it. Cafes and bars are still open. The Football League is still going ahead. And about 25% of the population on April 25th took part in a community work day, including the president himself.
Well, I don't know about vodka being an internally killing the virus, but they're certainly making a lot more sense than some of these other governors, like of New Jersey.
Yeah, let's get into that.
In California. And also who might replace Sununu as governor here in New Hampshire, who's actually even worse than Sununu, believe it or not. This is Free Talk Live.
I've had blue-fern Amazon parrots and cockatiels and finches and cats and a little Lhasa Apso, a Maltese, she's like 22, a yellow lab Floyd, a black lab Murphy. Murphy's coat, it's very, very shiny, like it sparkles in the sun. And I'm also a part-time dog trainer, so I will always endorse Dinovite.
DINOVITE.com.
Why wait until your dog is shedding like a monster? Save your dog from the agony, the misery of being stinky and having hot spots and shedding and making sure that they have the proper nutrition.
The omega-3 fatty acids, flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa, the digestive enzymes that are cooked out of regular dog food.
Get them started early. I mean, your dogs will love you for it. My dogs do puppy zoomies around the house.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dinovite at DINOVITE.com.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to Free Talk Live Radio, where you control the airwaves, which you can do so by calling in at 855-453. That's 855-450-3733. In studio, we're joined by...
It's Ian.
And I'm Vincent. I want to talk to you about Divvy. Now, the next generation wallet is coming from Divvy. In just a few taps, you'll be able to spend, earn, store, and exchange digital money in seconds. Divi says you will be able to send money around the globe in only a swipe and instantly exchange between Divi, Bitcoin, and fiat right in a mobile
like the dollar.
app. Yes. Right in a mobile app and withdraw directly to your bank account. There's no need to wait, though, as Divi already offers the first one-tap solution for earning passive income with her multi-tiered masternodes, allowing anyone to earn by supporting the Divi network. When the new Divi wallet launches, because of Divi's relationship with Western Union, Divi will be in 200 countries, including the United States. You can learn more at diviproject.org. That's DIVI project.org. And so now we've gone over how the governor of Pennsylvania says we can't get to the, quote, new normal until there's a foolproof vaccine. And unfortunately, he's being parroted by some of the other governors.
Oh, yeah.
And even more, I'd say when people talk about, like...
They're all singing the same tune about this new normal.
The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is a very, very statist state, but it's primarily because, at least my understanding, because it's like... many other states, unfortunately, like California and Illinois, it's controlled by the megacity in its region, where you have the two actually. You have Pittsburgh on Pittsburgh and Philadelphia on the coast, and then the state of Alabama in the middle as a former.
Is that the joke?
Yeah, that's a joke. People call it Pensatucky.
Okay.
I was born in the part that they refer to as Alabama, and I'm damn proud of it.
That explains the hair.
And. Oh no, I've gotten so much grief for the hair, but and so it's unfortunate because there's a lot of freedom-loving, salt of the earth people in all of these states too. Believe it or not, there's a rural part to New Jersey and California, and the political machines that come out of the cities just ensure that these states that would otherwise be red states are just going to stay firmly blue. So here we go, and so we have. From the governor of New Jersey, Governor Phil Murphy says, until a proven vaccine is widely available, we cannot firmly enter the new normal when life will once again return to all our working places, downtowns, and main streets.
Wait, that was the New Jersey guy? Didn't
Yes.
the Pennsylvania guy say almost the same exact thing?
Yeah, and the governor of California is saying almost the same exact thing. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's like
Just making sure I'm hearing this right. Okay.
it's like they have talking points.
Mm-hmm.
So California Governor Gavin Newsom also said that the Golden State would not be going back to normal.
Oh, he said that a bunch, yeah.
Until a vaccine is available. Quote, "We're not going back to normal," the governor said at a press briefing this month. "It is a new normal with adaptations and modifications until we get to immunity and a vaccine." That's like adaptations and modifications. Reminds me from you ever watch Star Trek, The Next Generation, the Borg?
Yeah, I've seen a few of them when I was growing up.
You'll be assimilated, resistance is futile. So
that's what they're saying.
You'll be vaccinated, resistance is futile. President Trump has remained positive about the development of vaccination, noting the, quote, staggeringly good test results of the coronavirus vaccine from Moderna. Trump also said this month that he is already involved in the process of mobilizing the military to distribute the vaccine as soon as it's developed, which caused a lot of pro-Trump people to release bricks. They really didn't like that. At the end of the year, we're going to be able to give it to a lot of people very, very rapidly, although Trump did come out and say that it would be available for people who wanted it. So by no means is, at least so far, Trump
He's not
is
saying it's going to be mandatory.
No. And a lot of people freaked out and were saying that's what he was saying because he said the military. So he says here at the end, quote, "I just want to make something clear," the president said during a press conference in a Rose Garden last week. "It's very important. Vaccine or no vaccine, we're back." So at least Trump isn't depending his the country reopening based off of a vaccine. So we're talking about governors, and now here's someone who's running for governor here in New Hampshire. And I just saw this headline, and I just had to bring it to our attention here. This is from the union leader, Andrew Volinsky, right? We were talking about Belarus, but this guy's probably from the U.S., just as a Eastern European name. Andrew Volinsky. No shirt, no shoes, no mask, no service. And he wrote this himself, and right now...
The Union Leader is the largest newspaper in New Hampshire,
yes,
by the way.
Yes. Thank you, yes. And Sununu right now...
He's currently an executive counselor, sorry to interrupt, I believe. So he's like already an elected office holder, this guy.
An executive counselor representing District 2 and candidate for governor. So he's running for governor as a Democrat, and he wrote this. The origin of a phrase, no shirt, no shoes, no service, is likely a dubious response to the passage of a 1964 Civil Rights Act, but it has now become separated from its discriminatory purpose, i.e., when he appropriates it. This phrase can now be pressed into service during the COVID-19 crisis with a modest change, add a requirement for a mask. The most powerful response to the spread of COVID-19 is to wear a simple facial covering or a mask. So if that's the most powerful response, then why are we shutting down all the businesses in the economy?
Well, let me tell you, it doesn't feel empowering. I'll tell you that. It feels pathetic. I mean, I don't say that because I've actually tried a mask on, but I feel, disempowered simply being around a bunch of people like that because it makes me feel like I'm surrounded by obedience.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's like a scene out of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, right? Where I just turn around like the only one not wearing it and all these like eyes, right? And it's just, that's the thing. You can't see the rest of her facial expression. It's just the eyes are staring at you.
Did you ever see the Invasion of the Body Snatchers from the 1990s with Donald Sutherland in it?
Well, that
wasn't he in the original too or something?
He was in the 1978 version. Yes, I didn't know there was another one.
There's one with Arlie Ermy in it from the early 1990s, and it was actually really good. And in that one, they point at you and they scream. So like the aliens, if they see you and you're not one of them or something, I forget. It's been a long time.
They did that in the
the
78 one
did they?
too.
Okay.
Yeah. So this just gets even better. The best way to enforce the wearing of masks is to require businesses that open. So require here, he says, businesses, not ask, require businesses that open during the crisis to refuse to serve members of the public who do not wear a mask. As Governor Sununu has chosen to open our malls, this is the first I've heard of that, with hordes of Massachusetts shoppers coming from areas of concentrated contagion.
That's a lie. The initial story about the malls reopening was that there was barely a trickle of customers.
Oh, I could, even before.
There's even a story here at Politico about Georgia, which got a bunch of press because, oh my God, they're opening too soon in Georgia. Well, according to the story at Politico, Georgia's jobs aren't flooding back. So even though they're allowed to reopen, you can't exactly rehire everybody if all your customers aren't coming back, right? Like if you're only getting a quarter of your customers back, you can really only bring back about a quarter of your staff.
And I mean, the staff might not even want to come back because if they're getting paid more money by the government to sit on their ass than to work. And I just find this funny here. This is the only time you'd hear a Democrat candidate from New Hampshire complain about hordes of people from Massachusetts coming into the state. I just want to point that out. It is the cost of doing business. No shirt, no shoes, no mask, no service. I recently hosted a Zoom town hall with public health experts, Nora Travis, PhD, an environmental health professor at Keene State, and Richard, just a bunch of names. They shared that we could shut down the virus if 4 out of 5 people wear masks. Okay, so I guess we'll be good, Ian. We'll be number 5. We just gotta get 10 people. We'll be. This works.
I don't see that. Thank goodness when I'm out and about. I don't see 4 out of 5.
Oh. I have been seeing a significant drop in the amount of.
Have you?
Compared to early. It depends on where we go.
I'll tell you, the Thirsty Owl bar in town, every time I go by, no one is wearing a mask outside. Except now the employees are, but all the customers are not. So that makes me feel good.
And he says here, this works because a mask protects others from tiny droplets each of us emit when we cough, sneeze, belch, or even laugh. As governor, I would ask businesses to join us in enforcing the basic public health requirement. So I would ask businesses. Okay, so at least he's not saying forcing businesses yet. But as soon as he gets elected, then he's going to start forcing businesses to do it.
He's not saying it now.
No. We'll, coming up, we'll get further into it because he's going to say what else he would do as governor, and he makes Sununu look good, which is not easy.
Jesus.
This is Free Talk Live.
Attention gardeners, if you need to grow nutritionally dense vegetables or medicinal herbs this year, listen, because a bioactive superfood for plants is now available. This all-natural superfood for plants is so effective at producing maximum plant growth in minimum time that it almost forces plants to grow, even under the worst light and soil conditions. It's called Proto-Grow, and it's truly remarkable. Vegetables grow faster and contain more bioavailable vitamins and trace minerals. Plants that rarely bloom will flower constantly. Sickly plants become vibrantly alive. Medicinal herbs become super potent. Flowers become more vivid right before your very eyes. Proto-Grow also improves the taste quality of all your garden vegetables. That's because it's more than just an all-natural superfood for plants. It's a proprietary blend of bioactive sea nutrients that contain the basic building blocks of life itself, which is why Proto-Grow even renews your garden by increasing the microorganisms in the soil. Learn more at growlikecrazy.com. That's growlikecrazy.com. Get special pricing for network listeners right now at growlikecrazy.com.
Hand sanitizer is not an option. It's now a must-have. But beware, not all hand sanitizers are created equal. That is why you want to use 2020 Safe Hand Sanitizer. You can trust the hand sanitizer on 2020safe.net to be made with the highest quality ingredients, American-made with American ingredients, employing Americans. Log on now at 2020safe.net and order your liter bottle and receive a bonus. That's right, you'll receive a 30-count bottle of Immune Booster, a $14.95 value, free. By using code GCN at checkout, 2020safe.net offers many natural products to help support health and help you live a more fulfilled life. From germ-zapping hand sanitizer to immune-building nutraceuticals, 2020safe.net has what you need in stock today. Just click 2020safe.net. Remember to enter GCN at checkout and the bonus is yours free. Go now to 2020safe.net.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing. To be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to Free Talk Live Radio, where you control the airwaves, which you can do so by calling in at 855-450-FREE. F is in freedom. That's 855-450-3733, and we are joined in studio by...
Yeah, it's Ian.
And I'm Vincent. So we're continuing this article from I think verse what? I haven't heard much about the Democrat primary here for governor in New Hampshire.
There is no primary yet. They haven't even had the filing period.
Oh, okay. So
anybody who's running has just sort of announced it. There's
see.
not anything official.
Okay, so coronavirus hasn't overtaken it. like it has with the nationwide Democrat primary. But current, I think it's what Tom. The two names I know of is Tom Feltz, who's some or Feltes, or however you pronounce it, some sort of politician here in New Hampshire, and Andrew Valinsky, who's I guess this is like op-ed we're reading from the union leader here, and saying why he thinks that, or as governor, he would ask that businesses mandate that customers wear a mask when inside their establishment, and it just gets better here. It's it's titled "No Shirt, No Shoes, No Mask, No Service." So he says, many Granite Staters have shared fearful accounts of witnessing unmasked employees and customers when they are shopping for necessities.
Go back to Massachusetts.
If you're that scared, yeah. And I mean, I hear like Massachusetts has had it worse in New England, but not even by that much. Not like New York level.
Interesting. I'm just looking here at Ballotpedia, but the competitor that you mentioned to this guy that wrote the story, he's not on the list anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, very.
At least as of now. That may be because Ballotpedia did send out notices to all of their candidates saying that they had to have some kind of, I forget what it was. There was some sort of requirement that they put on. Oh, I remember what it was. They had to have like some sort of fundraising number from the state Secretary of State's office. So nobody, our co-host, who is running against Sununu for the primary in the gubernatorial election here, he did get that number, so his name is listed as the only challenger to Sununu for the Republican primary, but this guy Valinsky's the only guy listed for the Democrats.
I wonder if it's because they're consolidating behind him.
I don't know. Last time they had like 3 or something Democrat candidates, so they didn't consolidate the last time.
Yeah, it was a guy with a train, right? It was like Van Horn.
I don't know.
So it was a guy who wanted
These people are not memorable.
Yeah, true. Especially even for New Hampshire, politician standards are not memorable. So he says a University of Washington model just increased its projections for New Hampshire COVID deaths. 7 states have now required. Yeah, why can't? How about you get like a New Hampshire university, or at least Quinnipiac, which is closer, to do something. To do polling or not polling, it's projections. 7 states have now required masks for customers and workers in businesses, including Maryland, which is led by Republican Governor Larry Hogan. This is, it's still tyranny if you have a Republican or Democrat. He's trying to appeal to partisanship.
This is bipartisan tyranny. It's okay. It's okay when both the parties do it.
Well, then he immediately follows up by saying, this isn't a partisan issue. Localities in red, blue, and purple states alike are increasingly requiring customers to wear masks. So bandwagoning. Right?
So yeah, he's saying Sununu hasn't gone far enough, is what he's saying.
Yeah. As governor, I would not hesitate to require that masks be worn by businesses that wish to open. So not by everyone, right? Just by businesses that wish to remain open. Retail workers are being asked to endanger their lives so that shopping malls can reopen. I don't agree with this decision, but the least we could do is make the retail stores as safe as possible. It's also the state's responsibility to make sure masks are freely available at the point of entry to our stores. A chicken in every pot and a mask in every store. If customers forgot their masks, we should help them. If they refuse to wear a mask, they should be refused entry. While we're at it, we should implement flexible scheduling in all of our workplaces to improve social distancing. Fine. Okay, that wasn't as threatening as
What does that even mean? Flexible scheduling.
So I guess like instead of everyone working like 9 to 5, you have some people work from like 9 to noon, and then
how does that help social distancing?
Well, because less people are in the building at the same time. I have family who work in office buildings, and they say that like half. Currently, like if we're reopening, like half of the employees are allowed to work from home, and then the other half are allowed to come into the office, which sort of works out because the half that go into the office actually want to be in the office, while the half that stays at home and works from home, right? They want to work from home and are probably good at it, right? If they're not getting fired. So he finishes up saying, and this is a great orator when he ends his essay with finally. Finally, it is time for the governor to speak out against the reopen NH rallies. So he's talking about us.
Yeah.
Wow.
We've been there.
While responsible citizens are social distancing and wearing masks. So I guess Keene is
irresponsible.
Yeah, Keene's irresponsible. These protesters.
Well, the Keene politicians are all wearing masks.
Oh, not the police, though.
But the police aren't, which it actually warms my heart a little bit to see the cops walking around with no masks on.
Well, if they have to, I was gonna say if they have to chase someone, it decreases their breathing. But
That's true.
It's
dangerous.
When was the last time you saw a cop get out of her car and go on foot patrol or chase someone? And knowing the people in Keene,
I did see actually. I saw. I didn't see them get out of their car, but they did chase a college student one year. He was S-faced drunk, and they were trying to get him to stop and consent to a search, and the kid booked it. And I did see a cop chase after him and tackle him.
Oh, well, I was going to say, usually with college students, they immediately prostrate themselves to the police.
No, this guy was drunk, and he was gonna run.
Well, that's why they called liquid courage.
Yeah.
And
he got taken down by the scrawniest cop. This guy looks like me.
Oh, how embarrassing! Well, he probably was the only one who had the leg capacity to run. right?
He wasn't too fat.
Hobbling over. So here, he's required. He wants Sununu to speak out against reopen NH rallies while responsible citizens are social distancing and wearing masks. These protesters, some of whom are reportedly paid. All right.
Really?
Where are
Where's
our checks?
check?
Yeah, where's our checks? Flout all community norms, right? Because going out and wearing a mask in broad daylight, staying inside when the sun is out. Yeah, that's normal, right? We're the weird ones,
normal.
right? We're the weird ones. How would these protesters have reacted when asked to plant Liberty Gardens for the war effort? Well, that was back before it was illegal to collect rainwater in some places, so I'm sure we would all be fine with it.
I don't think that's illegal here. That's Oregon, I believe.
Would also maybe in Florida too, or anyway. I mean, people get the idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's that was it. The homeowner association will show up. The neighborhood Nazis will say you can't have a garden here. So yeah, that's why we can't have Liberty Gardens. Would these sunshine patriots have slunk away from their responsibilities in wartime England when asked to darken their windows during air raids? Okay,
so once again, you've got another guy here in the government gang who is likening this current situation to wartime. That is continuously happening, and it's not just Democrats. Trump's done it too, right? He's talked about fighting the, quote, invisible enemy.
Well, he was alluding to the deep state. That's what Q said.
No, he was talking about COVID-19 is what he was talking about. So, none of these people are any better than any of the rest of them. I mean, it's a difference only in degrees. We're all seeing all these governors talking about this new normal and the United States doesn't have a Belarus. There are some states where they didn't have total lockdowns, so some states were better than others, but that's always true in the U.S. There's always some states that are less free or more free than others, but none of them had the same mentality as Belarus across the board.
Oh yeah, and his talking about victory gardens, right? It's like trying to have the people who buy into all of this feel like they're part of the team, right? That they're fighting this war, and it's like, well, with victory gardens, food was being rationed, so if you didn't grow one, you could go hungry. And with he's talking about the London Blitz, darkening for windows. Yeah, I mean, if you didn't darken your windows, you might have a bomb fall on your house. But he's equating that just to walking outside and not putting a piece of fabric over your face.
That's really what they're trying to do. They're trying to act like if you join in, you do what you're told, you're going to be contributing to this war effort, and you're going to help defeat coronavirus, and you're a hero.
So, these sunshine patriots. Well, plenty of people have been to these rallies during the just brittle
There was one
wind.
that was freezing cold with just above freezing in probably the mid to upper 30s.
Oh yeah.
And it was raining, and it was just awful. And there were 300 to 400 people there.
And so he says, the reopened protests are not patriots at all. Patriots don't needlessly endanger their neighbors.
Patriots do what they're told.
They fight to protect them. Yeah, we're fighting to protect their rights, the sheeple. It is long past our elected leaders publicly proclaimed this simple truth. It would be a great shame to suffer a single preventable death for failure to wear a mask or failure to call out protesters who needlessly endanger us all. Do the right thing. Save lives. Oh, and look, folks, Sununu's bad, but we can't let this guy get in. I got to endorse him. No, it's whoever wins, we lose. But this guy is so bad that he makes Sununu look good in comparison, which is why I'm endorsing nobody for New Hampshire governor. And, if you're a Republican or registered and you care about freedom, I recommend you do the same thing, too, because Sununu is clearly
anybody
part of
can
the
support
swamp.
nobody's campaign from anywhere. Just go to electnobody.com. You don't have to be in New Hampshire for that.
But, Sununu's part of a swamp. This is Free Talk Live.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now's your chance to be part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for everyone to use it in everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that's as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more, and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with the SNLS Network and listeners like you. Online at snlsnetwork.com. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading at $1,753, silver at $17.96, and Bitcoin is trading around $9,512. Today's gold, silver, and Bitcoin prices are brought to you by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven. The Liberty Beat and Brave Botanicals believe so strongly in the power of kratom, we're giving it away for free. Just go to libertybeat.news/free kratom. This is the Liberty Beat at snlsnetwork.com. In the news, Trump's new secret watch list allows government to track political and information activists with no warrant. That headline comes from the Free Thought Project, which reports that the Trump administration has created a list for the first time since 9/11 that includes American citizens with no connections to terrorism. Like the FBI's original list, the new watch list, dubbed the Transnational Organized Crime Watch List, authorized through a classified Attorney General order and launched in 2017, is expected to grow to well over 1 million names. According to an in-depth Newsweek investigation, the list also allows the government to track and monitor Americans without a warrant, even when there is no evidence they're breaking the law. That means law enforcement in America can now reportedly track and monitor Americans who have not been accused of any crime, and do so without first obtaining a warrant. Ever wonder where we find all the news to report right here on the Liberty Beat? Visit snls.news to get the world's most censored media published all in one place. Save yourself from the endless time spent searching for reliable alternative media. SNLS News makes it quick and easy. No ads, no clickbait, just raw headlines, 24 hours a day. Visit snls.news and get informed today without the corporate media spin. Your news now continues. In a landmark decision, the German Constitutional Court has ruled that mass surveillance of telecommunications outside of Germany conducted on foreign nationals is unconstitutional. Activist Post calls it a major victory for global civil liberties, but especially for those that live and work in Europe. Many will now be protected after lackluster 2016 surveillance reforms continued to authorize surveillance on EU states and institutions, and permitted the BND to collaborate with the NSA. In a press release regarding the decision, the court found that the privacy rights of the German constitution also protects foreigners in other countries, and that the German intelligence agency had no authority to conduct telecommunications surveillance on them. The court also decided that, as currently structured, there was no way for the BND to restrict the type of data collected and who it was being collected from. Unrestricted mass surveillance posed a particular threat to the rights and safety of lawyers, journalists, and their sources. Rebecca Jones doesn't expect her replacement at Florida's DOH's Division of Disease Control and Health Protection to provide the same level of accessibility and transparency that she had been committed to providing as Geographic Information System Manager and architect of the state's lauded COVID-19 data and surveillance dashboard. Jones blames that very commitment to data accessibility and transparency as the motivating factor for her reassignment on May 5th. MidPress News reports in an email to a local CBS News affiliate in Tallahassee, she made the explosive allegation that superiors at the DDCHP had asked her to cook the books and, quote, manually change data to drum up support for the plan to reopen, end quote. When she refused, Jones was taken off the job and offered a settlement with the option to resign. Support for the Liberty Beat is brought to you by the Homestead Guru. The Homestead Guru is an educational website offering tips, tools, news, stories, and commentary on everything homesteading. Topics include green homes, gardening, animal husbandry, do-it-yourself, home remedies, alternative energy, survivalism, unschooling, and more. Those details are found online at thehomestead.guru. This is the Liberty Beat, powered by the SNLS Network at snlsnetwork.com. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
The call just came in over the police radio. Yeah, right here. It's just me and my producer Glenn and a camera. Buckle up. We don't know where in the mall the shots were fired. We don't know what's going on. It looks like a security guard. I'm going to see what he knows. Turns out he wasn't a security guard. He was just a guy in a blue suit. We still have zero information. Where do we go next? I have no idea. My gut says that way. Come on! I see an ambulance! Confirmed ambulance site! You'll see the space by the curb where an ambulance was parked just moments ago.
You have any idea where the shooter is?
I was being stonewalled by police, but I couldn't let that stop me. I spoke to a woman who said that she saw a man being escorted through the mall by police. Could this be the shooter? According to the description, he was a male, aged somewhere between 20 and 60. He's either Caucasian or part Latino or something like that. He was wearing some kind of a jacket. And I wrote something else here, but it got smudged. However, that information later turned out to be false. The shooter, if there is one, remains at large. Needless to say, our thoughts are with the victims here today, if there are any, which we don't know yet.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Welcome back, everyone, to Free Talk Live Radio, where you control the airwaves, which you can do so by calling in at 855-450-FREE. F is in freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And we are joined in studio by...
It's Ian.
And I'm Vincent. And before we go to the phones here, I just wanted to go over this. There's a quick list here published today of CDC guidelines for reopening schools. And I know a lot of people are facing getting laid off for whatever reason from the public school system, because the excuse I saw is that I haven't even seen a good excuse, because unlike a regular business, right, public schools are guaranteed their income from the school board, which is taken from property taxes and such. Mm-hmm. And so, but yeah, it's just unfortunate because I know some people are going to be losing their jobs most likely. But here, this is how school is going to happen. Although I do feel
this is
conflicted.
Coming from where?
The CDC.
Okay.
I do feel conflicted because on one end, I don't want to see people I know lose their jobs. At the other end, public school and even many private schools are just so awful that, like, if I was in school when this happened, I'd be loving it. So, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has come out with recommendations for schools to follow. And so these are recommendations. You're not forced to, but since these are also another government, whenever you have a government institution recommending something, usually that other government institution follows it. So students and staff are recommended to wear face coverings throughout the day. Desks should be 6 feet apart and facing the same direction when feasible. Physical barriers such as sneeze guards and partitions should be used where it's difficult to keep individuals less than 6 feet apart.
So if they're going to move desks 6 feet apart, it's been a long time since I've been to school, but back when I was in school, the desks were right next to one another, basically. You had somebody sitting directly in front of you and somebody sitting directly behind you, and usually there was somebody to the left and to the right of you with enough room to walk, with like a column or whatever where people could walk up and down. If they're talking about moving desks 6 feet away from one another, you're talking about doubling the size of a classroom, or rather cutting in half the number of people that can be in a currently sized classroom. So is this going to become a huge government make jobs, make work project to build all new schools to essentially double the amount? And I'm just doing this in my head, right? Like maybe it's three times. Maybe they need to make it 3 times as large. I don't know, but let's just be conservative and say at least double the size. So now instead of 1 high school, there needs to be 2 high schools. Or if you're in a big city, instead of 10 high schools, there needs to be 20 high schools.
I don't know where schools are going to find the money for that, because they've been complaining about having
raise taxes.
Well, I mean, they've
which no one can afford to pay because they're not making any money.
Well, I mean, for years they've been complaining about not only that schools are underfunded and teachers are underpaid despite only working for 3/4 of a year for full pay. They're also understaffed, right? Where you'd have sometimes they'd have a teacher and an assistant teacher for a classroom of 20, in some cases 30 kids. So now if you're going to have either bigger classrooms, I think we're just going to have to use more rooms, because sometimes not all the rooms are used. There's the Spanish room or the history room or whatever. So I think that's what they're going to have to.
But if there's more rooms in use, wouldn't they have to have more teachers?
Yes, which is a problem.
Right, so they're going to have to double the space and double the staff. And it's going to be a huge boon for the educational bureaucracy that's already massive. I mean, already here in Keene, New Hampshire, where we live, you don't pay property taxes, Vincent. But if you did, you would know that you're paying about 60 to 70% of the property tax bill is going to the government schools in this area.
Despite having no children, or at least no children that I know of.
That's right.
It's ridiculous. It gets even worse. So floors and sidewalks should be marked off with distance lines, right? Like you see at grocery stores. Students are encouraged to bring their own lunch. With most parents don't know how to cook or anything, right, other than fast food or TV dinners.
Yeah, if you thought government school wasn't regimented enough as it is, and it is. I mean, it's prison-like in how regimented it is. Now it's going to be even worse with you've got to put these X's on the floor and everybody has to stand away from one another. And of course, if you're not social distancing, then the principal's you're going to get written up and you're going to get in trouble.
Oh, no, it's even worse. Dining halls and playgrounds should remain closed if possible. Otherwise, the area should be cleaned and disinfected after each use. And I've worked, and that's about it. I worked in early childhood education, and indoor recess is the worst. It's one of the worst things because, it's just screaming kids, fights, they can't run around. They don't get any of the energy out. So just imagine that, having playgrounds closed, having cafeterias closed.
I can't imagine having a cafeteria closed like that. I mean, that seems like a crazy idea.
And some schools actually have kids eating lunch in the homeroom. So I mean, for me, that's not too alien of an idea. But it's going to be. I wonder. Yeah, so it's just going to be awful for the children. So we go to the phone lines here. Waiting patiently is Matthew from Louisiana. Thanks for the call. What's on your mind?
Well, so I was telling your call screener, I was listening to Rush today, and he was railing about the slow pace of reopening and banging on about it. And I couldn't help but think to myself, well, look at the guidelines that are being issued by the White House. And, there's somebody you could rail about. And finally, he is willing to admit to a conspiracy theory because supposedly there's another flare-up in China, and he's saying, well, that's got to be a conspiracy theory. That can't actually be happening. I'm like,
So
I don't know if the Chinese are that good at acting, but I'm willing to think it might happen.
Well, that's funny. After years of Rush Limbaugh acting as sort of a gatekeeper, and anytime anyone had any sort of alternative theories, him, dumping or dropping the call, calling them kooks, and now he's the one, now when it's something that he disagrees with, he has a conspiracy theory. So the shoe is on the other foot now, Mr. Limbaugh. Welcome to the dark side, or to the underground. So is he... So go ahead.
And down here, they're requiring masks, but on the other hand, if you don't feel like wearing them, they just give you ugly looks.
Okay.
So I was in the racetrack in Covington, Louisiana today.
That's a gas
and
station.
I walked in there, and yes, it's a gas station / convenience store.
Yep.
I walked in there, and I was the only person wearing a mask because I'm afraid my wife might have secretly bought a Chinese drone to follow me around to make sure I'm wearing a mask.
So your wife is
living in fear of your wife.
Your wife is pressuring you.
How could you call yourself a man?
No, that's what other people call me. That's a mistake. You have bad vision. But she's definitely in fear.
Man.
And I don't blame her because, she watches the local news media, and it's as much fear porn as the regular news media. According to Fox News Radio, we're all already dead.
Oh, and that's from Fox News even. Because from CNN and MSDNC, as, Hannity so puts it. You're getting, it's the end of the world.
Fox News Radio is different. Fox News Radio is different from Fox Cable, but even Fox Cable's horrible because Donald Trump admitted he's taking hydroxychloroquine and zinc sulfate as a preventative, and they exploded because everybody knows you take those medications and the reaction just causes a nuclear explosion, right?
I'd sure hope not. Thanks for the call, Matthew. But yeah, Trump, I think today's the last day or tomorrow that he's taking hydroxychloroquine, and I can't really speak to that. I just know that the best way, they talk about the best way to beat the coronavirus is with a vaccine or by wearing a mask or saying something. I know the best way to beat any sort of germ or bug is to get a good, to be well rested, to have a balanced diet, and to also make sure you have the minerals and nutrients that your body needs for its immune system. So I think the thing about the hydroxychloroquine is where hydroxychloroquine helps the body absorb zinc somehow, and zinc prevents the virus from replicating with your cells. It is antiviral, right? It's like when someone would have a cold that just doesn't go away for weeks on end, they would take something called a Z-Pack. But you could also get zinc over the counter, and vitamin D also, especially in this country. If you live in New England and you're of European descent or have white skin, vitamin D supplements are king, especially during winter too. So for me, I'm not a doctor. I look at all the supplements and such, but it is interesting. As soon as there's some sort of what some describe as a silver bullet, right? Hydroxychloroquine, something that might work against coronavirus, the media immediately fear-mongers about it, says that, if you take it, you could die. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, Trump, there's no cure. There's no hope unless it's a vaccine. This is Free Talk Live.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. Local.bitcoin.com.
My dogs do puppy zoomies around the house, so I will always endorse Dinovite. DINOVITE.com. Why wait? Save your dog from being stinky and having hot spots and shedding and making sure that they have the proper nutrition. Get them started early. Your dogs will love you for it.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dinovite at DINOVITE.com.
Got shaving irritation? Shave Secret shaving oil can help stop it. Shave Secret doesn't cost much and is an all-American product. My name is Chuck Howard, and I developed Shave Secret and pioneered its use starting back in 1991. Ingrown hairs drove me nuts for years. Shaving oil changed all that. Why put up with ingrown hair, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts? Shave Secret provides men and women with what we believe is the best shave ever. Our proprietary blend of 100% natural base and essential oils plus a hint of menthol was designed to help eliminate shaving irritations like ingrown hairs, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts. We'll lose those shaving irritations. Available at Super Walmart, H-E-B, Wegmans, Giant Eagle, Discount Drug, Navy and Marine Exchanges, Amazon and ShaveSecret.com. Use the code FTL for Free Talk Live and get a discount. Shave Secret, the best shave ever.
You can't win if you don't enter, and you actually can improve your chances of winning a prize drawing if you wrinkle up your entry blank. I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com, and I speak from experience. Why this works: if they'll be spinning the drum before drawing, your entry blank will move around more than, and not adhere to, other perfectly flat entry blanks. And if they don't spin the drum and merely reach into a box full of other perfectly flat entry blanks, many of which are sticking together, yours will feel different to the person reaching in. When you win, act surprised. And if you're looking for work, this is a metaphor. For more tips on sticking out in a world where just too much blends into the blah, 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 hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to Free Talk Live Radio, where you control the airwaves, which you could do so by calling in at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And in studio, we're joined by...
It's Ian.
And I want to talk to you about... And I'm mad, but before, I want to talk to you about Liberty.menu. For years, libertarians of all stripes have wanted a directory of liberty-minded businesses. We're helping build one. Liberty.menu. Liberty.menu is a tool for your community. At its core, it's a directory for events, businesses, and digital content, and more. Listings can be rated and reviewed, and there's a bit of social network, too, so you can now connect and share with others. Use of Liberty.menu is exclusively for individuals who reject the initiation of force and those who agree to abide by the ethics of a non-aggression principle. Put your voluntarist ideas into action at Liberty.menu and use code FTL to get a special badge. That's Liberty.menu. And so before we get into this next piece of outrageous news, I just got to say, I think that a lot of organizations that have bought into this coronavirus hysteria, panic, ridiculousness are doing so not only because, I mean, they might believe it or they might not. I think anyone who looks at this objectively would realize that the whole country overreacted, but a lot of organizations are using this as an excuse to get bailed out of their own debt or their own troubles, right? And just take with the a lot of these Democrat blue cities are asking for bailouts because they're not getting the tax money that they need to I guess like it's like the equivalent of your boat is sinking and you have a bucket, right? Mm-hmm. You're trying to do it so that they're able to coast along with their stolen overtaxed money. But now with the coronavirus and they can't get sales tax or whatever that, or whatever they live off of, now they're asking for a bailout. And it's like that now, apparently. Well, and I suspect it's like that with at least whatever organization at Kegstand College that runs that's responsible for the yearbook, right? Every year the yearbook is for free. At least for seniors, it's for free. And this year we have to pay just made aware we have to pay $25 for it. And so I know of a professor who's on part of a club or committee, and I say, hey, what's the deal with this? And he says, oh, our funding got slashed this year. You're lucky you're even getting a yearbook. Other college, UNH and Plymouth aren't having yearbooks. And I replied, and then we went back on, so I don't know what his response was. I said, well, how could you run out of funding when our grade, we paid our tuition already?
Right.
And it's the same thing with the schools. It's the same thing with the cities. It's like, well, look, all of us paid our taxes last year, so how are you running out of money already? And it's just, it's just so they're very irresponsibility.
They don't run in the black. They're governments.
Well, exactly, yeah, and they're fine to let other people hold the bag.
They know if they spend the money they have and more, they'll get more next year.
Yeah, exactly.
That's usually how it works. Now that might change.
Well, with government, I can understand. It's awful, but I understand. But a private, institution like that, Kegstand. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Kegstand College is, the state. The stand stands for state.
Right.
Yeah, I should have known. But so there are worse things going on right now. Like you could have had your church burned down because.
Oh my God, this story.
So, and actually, yeah, I was surprised. Ian also had this in his show prep. So, I got this one from Infowars.com. Arsonist burns down lockdown-defying church. And they wrote an awful, nasty message on it. And this happened. A Mississippi church that defied the state's lockdown orders and filed a lawsuit challenging the city of Holly Springs. Coronavirus's restrictions has been burned down by what appears to be, and they call him a left-wing arsonist. I don't really think you could tell what their politics were, but
just a lunatic.
Yeah.
Somebody who really believes this whole coronavirus thing.
Absolutely. And the word spray painted in the parking lot of the First Pentecostal Church of Holly Springs was, bet you stay home now, you hypocrite. Or he spelled crits with a K, which I guess phonetically it still says hypocrite. But at least if you're going to vandalize something, at least spell check it so you don't look like an idiot.
Well, I hope they don't stay home. I hope that the church goes out and meets in a park or somewhere else and makes a public announcement that this terrible act of destruction on this person's part is not going to stop them from practicing their faith.
Absolutely, yeah, and there's a little bit more to this. Investigators say an explosion blew out the front of the church, according to Fox 13.
Wow.
The church's pastor, Jerry Waldrop, filed a lawsuit against the city last month after police broke up their Easter service and gave the church a citation because parishioners were not social distancing.
Where is the video of this? If you've got however many people are at an Easter service, right? Like a few hundred?
Anyone who's going to go to church most likely is at church.
Yeah. And maybe they had a slightly lower than normal turnout because of COVID, but it probably was fairly well attended. And so I'm going to guess there were dozens of people there. Why is there no video? Maybe it does exist. We haven't heard about it. There really isn't a whole lot of video out there of any of these people doing any kind of pushback. Of all the business owners who've gotten publicity, there's very little in the way of... now, there was some from Texas with the Dallas salon owner. The news media itself got some video in that case. But as far as the actual salon owners themselves or their staff or customers recording video, where is the bad behavior caught on video? There's plenty of bad behavior. Why aren't we seeing it? Shame on these people for not recording these goons as they come in to try to break up their Easter service.
Well, I wonder if it's because many people think that you're not allowed, even if you're in public or on your own property, you're not allowed to film someone without their permission. I've had people lose their minds so they just see, despite most people's lives being on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and so people think so. The second someone else films them during their bad behavior, they lose their mind. And even police would lie. They'd say, "Oh, you can't film me here. You can't film," and they try and anyways,
constantly.
Yeah.
And when the police lie, there's no punishment if they get caught, right? So when the cops lie about, oh, you can't film, well, you either believe them or you don't. You either call them on their bluff or you don't. And most people don't. Most people will just, okay, officer, I guess I'll do what you say. And that's how we got into where we're at right now with so many people doing what they're told. That's what they're used to. They're not used to standing up for themselves.
And people are surprised when there's police, showing up to force kids off a playground.
That happened here in New Hampshire.
Yeah, and they say, "Oh, where did this happen?" Right? It can't happen here. We can't be living in an authoritarian police state. And it's like when it happened to someone else, it was fine, right? When when the police are harassing pot smokers or other protesters, shoot them with a fire hose, get them. And then, when they're being arrested, although
I don't know if that's true of the people in Concord. As I understand it, one of the women who was talking back to the cops.
I'm just saying in general, but.
Okay, but just to be clear, those folks were, from what I understand, one of them is actually Jay Noon's neighbors. So he knows Jay's one of our sometime co-hosts here on Free Talk Live. So he vouched for this lady. Like she that wasn't her first time standing up for herself, basically. So the cops messed with the wrong parents.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. And I have a lot of respect for her, especially since she refused to back down when she was getting death threats and people were calling for her to be fired.
Right. And she has kids. Like that's usually the circumstance that will neuter an activist. Because usually activists stop doing activism as soon as they have a kid. Because then they know the government can go after their children. The government can come in with CPS or whatever, Department of Children's Services, and just destroy somebody's life.
Oh, yeah, they tried, too, at least with, in Alex Jones's case. He led one of the Reopen Austin rallies, and his ex-wife, she immediately was on the phone with the police and trying to get custody, full custody of her kids again, which is just absolutely despicable. So coming up, I think we have one. I want to talk about why we shouldn't refer to these awful people as Karen anymore. There's a better term. And two, I think I have a theory as to why they're all out and about causing trouble when they should be staying indoors by their own logic. This is Free Talk Live.
The next generation wallet is coming from Divvy. In just a few taps, you'll be able to send, earn, spend, and exchange digital money in seconds. Send money around the globe with only a swipe. Instantly exchange between Divvy, Bitcoin, and fiat right in the mobile app and withdraw directly to your bank account. Divvy already offers the first one-tap solution for earning passive income with crypto. Multi-tiered masternodes allow everyone to partake in the network. Visit divvyproject.org. divvyproject.org. This COVID-19 thing has turned the world upside down. Regardless of what you believe about it, it has changed our lives. But what's not changed is that if you own a business, you need to advertise to reach new customers or clients. Our audience is not the kind to stick their heads in the sand during a crisis. They are fully engaged and more active than ever. Special advertising packages are available to you to help you not just recover, but thrive. Email my sales manager, Matthew at freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live.
For me, it's fighting negativity, and the negativity is my thoughts in my head that are negative. And I had to learn to recognize when my thoughts were being negative, because most of my life, most of my thoughts were negative. So I had to become aware of when they were happening. And when I become aware of these negative thoughts pervading my thinking, I immediately fight them with positive thoughts. And most of the positive thoughts that I feed myself are positive affirmations about who I am, where I'm going, where I've come from.
Whenever I find myself thinking negatively, I don't consider it fighting the negative thoughts. I just consider it changing my train of thought. I just kind of change tracks to a positive thought and just focus on that.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
The political world is a maddening cesspool of corruption and lies. Nobody tells the truth. Nobody keeps campaign promises. Nobody obeys the Constitution. Nobody puts the people first. How can we ever escape this web of tyranny? Vote for nobody.
Hi, my name is Nobody. I'm running for governor of New Hampshire because nobody knows how to live your life better than you do, and nobody deserves that kind of power. I want to put you back in control of your money, your lifestyle, your work, your body, and your life. Nobody should rule you but you. New Hampshire convicts many people of so-called crimes that should never have been prosecuted. If elected, I will pardon every victimless crime in New Hampshire history. This includes drug, gambling, prostitution, gun, and driving offenses. Nobody should have a criminal record when they have not harmed anybody.
Wouldn't it be nice to have nobody telling you what to do? Learn more at electnobody.com. electnobody.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to Free Talk Live Radio, where you control the airwaves, which you could do so by calling in at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And in studio, we're joined by...
It's Ian.
And I want to talk to you about ForkFest 2020, which is coming up. It's coming up in, let's see here, about a month and a week. Yeah, it's getting there.
Oh, it'll be here before you know it. If you're not making plans for this yet, you better start.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just because we've been reading this for months now, and now it's finally here. It was in doubt for a while, but now it's finally here. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 29th until July 5th for ForkFest 2020 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. But also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve... Oh, excuse me, indigestion. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 29th until July 5th.
Do it this week if you can. Get that reservation in there so they know that people are coming, because reservations overall, according to the owner of the park, are down this year for both the Porcupine Freedom Festival and ForkFest. I think there was a lot of uncertainty that people had. Are these things going to happen? They heard about the Libertarian Party conference being canceled in Austin. They heard about Burning Man being canceled for late August, early September out in Nevada. So lots of things have been canceled. ForkFest is still happening. There's no one who can cancel ForkFest with the exception of the property owner, and he says he's going to be there. Things are going to be as normal. You can get registered and come on up.
Well, and unlike anything that happens in Austin or Burning Man, it's not going to be as densely populated, no matter regardless, right? Especially up in Coos County, where I think there's been I don't know if they have either 0 cases in Coos County.
It's next to 0.
Or if we're just not even taking data from it. That's like the northernmost. It's what they call the Great North Country. It's in northernmost county here in New Hampshire. It's right on the border of Canada.
Yeah.
Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can simply relax and go camping with other liberty lovers, or you could create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You could connect with other ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. That is forkfest.party. And it's going to be great. Actually, I have a lot of listeners of my show who are at least planning on coming, although a lot of them live out of state. So that makes it a little bit more awkward since the governor says that that's not going to be allowed, at least as of phase 2. Phase 2, they can't have out-of-staters. So, and I think phase 3 is going to come out in early June, so I'd be curious to see. But, there's that term Karen we've been hearing, and it's, I don't know, I guess it's some names have a
By the way, anyone
residence.
can stay at Rogers Campground. If you're paying for a spot, you are a member.
Oh, that's a
so
good
it doesn't matter if you're from out of state.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that's a good point. But a more appropriate term for Karen, I'd say, and this is a term
Define
I've been
a
hearing.
Karen.
So a Karen is, I haven't been using this meme because I think it's ridiculous to use it as an insult, a common name. But it's what people have been describing the busybodies and tattletales and the Stasi wannabes who've been reporting people for being outside.
This has been going on. The Karen meme has been going on prior to the COVID.
Oh, well, I was unaware, but I think
It's like kind of like the worrywart mother who's gonna snitch
the
people
pearl
out.
clutchers.
Yeah.
Think of the children, even though they're childless and hate children themselves. But so I think a more appropriate term would be an awful, right? AWFL.
Karens wouldn't be childless necessarily. They'd
well,
be more likely to have children.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess
I
it's
think
different.
my understanding of a Karen.
It's. I think the better term would be an awful, which stands for affluent white female liberal.
Karens aren't necessarily liberals.
Well, no, I know. I'm just saying that in general, like the same type of the same type of behavior and pearl clutching, right? Because they have not, affluent. They have not, and obviously this is just a big generalization, right? They're affluent, so they could afford to
got
be
all kinds of time.
Yeah, they have all kinds of time. White, this is, they happen to be white a lot of the times. Affluent white female, goes. Although I haven't seen any men who've been advocating the whole social distancing. I'm sure there are.
There must be
men who work for the government, right? Eunuchs.
There was a guy. I was on the street the other day in front of the studio on the other side, walking Jazzy, the studio beast here. And there was a family. One of them, the elderly folks, live across the street. They had somebody visiting with like their kid or maybe two kids or something like that. But I'm going to guess he was their son. Just a guess. And they were walking towards Jazzy and I. And Jazzy's, she's old. She's sitting there just sniffing around. So they caught up to me. And as the man was approaching, he said something to his son about something social distancing or like practice social distancing. And his kid was probably no older than like 5 or whatever. Old enough to be able to walk by himself, but, needs to have somebody with him. And so the kid, and the dad walk off of the sidewalk and move into the road. So specifically so they could so-called social distance from me and Jazzy, who were on the sidewalk. And then I saw his license plate later, and he was from Massachusetts. And so I was like, okay.
That's why we should build a wall on the southern border of New Hampshire. I'm telling you, these Massachusetts people. That was just a suggestion, right? Because there's plenty of people named Karen who don't behave that way, and it's unfair to them. So awful, affluent white female liberal. I think one of the reasons why that a lot of these Karens don't have, or awfuls, or I'll just use Karen for simplicity, have time to go out and bother other people, right? When you'd think that they'd be the number one people staying home is because the soap operas have stopped filming. This is from Fox, and it's from a while ago. And, I got to say, due to the way my classes were, and plenty of men watch soap operas, like football players.
Really?
Because football players, a lot of them do, because they have to train in the morning and the evening. But during the middle of the day, they have a lot of time. So for me, I had classes in the morning, and I had the afternoon off.
So you're saying you watch?
Yeah, I've watched The
things.
Young and Restless for
I've never
few years.
seen a single episode of any of those shows my entire life. Yeah, I worked at a job where they had daytime television on in the break room constantly, but it was usually we'd put it on like Jerry Springer or Ricky Lake or one of these trashy kind of TV talk shows.
Yeah, something you could have in the background, because with these shows you sort of got to pay attention just for the storylines and such. But my mother would watch it. She was she was a stay-at-home mom before the divorce and everything, and so I would sort of pick it up too, and I liked it. I could appreciate it. It's different from all the Marvel movies and stuff, so I appreciated it. And but also its demographic is dying too. I think, what was it, like Young and the Restless and Bold and the Beautiful are the top chairs on the sinking ship. But now that the coronavirus pandemic has made CBS run out of original episodes for the two of its biggest daytime dramas, the network announced that it will air themed reruns to make up the airtime. Daytime soap operas Young and Restless and The Bold and the Beautiful will officially run out of new episodes to air thanks to production being shut down. This article is from a few weeks ago, so it's already happened. And because they film like a month ahead of time, and so they could have a Christmas episode on time and such. That's why the Karens are all out and about, because they don't have nothing to watch other than the news, which will probably give them a heart attack. And so now I wanted to use that as a jumping off point for my political soap operas, because I realized I don't have the I do want to I have this article here on Obamagate since we talked about
What
the
is that?
Lawfare. Oh, we're going to get into it coming up. And I view it as, since I don't have my regular soap operas to watch, the fictional soap operas, I might as well watch the biggest soap opera of all time,
Politics.
which is C-SPAN. Yeah, C-SPAN politics. Because, you have like the good guys become bad guys and vice versa. I mean,
They're
it's
all
like,
bad.
It's like the WWE. Well, you have the heels and the faces, right? One might appear bad and the other good, but they all end, at the end of the day, they all work for Vince McMahon or Dana White, right? So, if you were to use the sports analogy. So 855-450 free, F as in freedom, 855-450-3733, and we're going to be coming up getting into why Obamagate is not a conspiracy theory and it should worry you, the average person. This is Free Talk Live.
Hi, this is Dr. Joel Wallach, the Mineral Doctor. You've heard me talk about 90 for Life for years. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 2 fatty acids. You may not know this, that I've actually designed Arthrodex for animals. That's right. Your pets need 90 for Life too. Get this essential pet product by calling 877-279-9422. That's 877-279-9422. Again, 877-279-9422.
This is a pandemic survival alert, and the most time-sensitive messages you will hear this year. You still have time to plant a 1-acre crisis garden and secure a supply of your own nutrient-dense food. But time is running out, and it's one deadline you don't want to miss. Who should plant a crisis garden? Individuals, families, churches, communities, anyone or any group that sees hard times ahead. Let's face it, even the mainline media is talking about food supply disruptions and the growing number of grocery store workers who are becoming sick. But there's more. Meat packing plants are closing, mile-long lines at food pantries, and more farmers now in financial trouble. The truth is, growing nutrient-dense vegetables this summer may be the single most important thing you do. Go to survivalseedbank.com and watch the new video to understand what we're really up against. Get free bonus seeds, special quarantine reports too. Don't wait, every minute counts. Go to survivalseedbank.com. That's survivalseedbank.com.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I started fighting the IRS over 40 years ago when they tried to seize my mother's house. I sued the IRS and won. I beat the IRS then, and I've been beating them ever since. I wrote the book on tax debt settlement, and I've helped thousands of people deal with tax problems they thought might never be solved. I can help you too. If you owe taxes you can't pay, don't wait another day. There's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, danpilla.com. That's danpilla.com, danpilla.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Taking over the world one Bitcoin at a time. Or at least the legacy media. All right, welcome back, everyone, to Free Talk Live. And before we get into now, first there was what? Obviously the classic. You have Watergate, then you had Deflategate, Russiagate, and so now it's only a matter of time until we have Obamagate. But before we get into that and my political soap opera, I want to thank Jesse Cruz, who's in Silver Amplifier, supporting the show here. I want to give you a special thank you. The AMP group is what helps us keep the lights on here and promote the show. And you could do so, right? If you want to have your name read up here along with Jesse's, or if maybe you just want to stay anonymous but still help out the show, you could go to amp.freetalklive.com. So thank you very much, Jesse, for that. And so now this is from the National Review. And since we heard so much about, the Russian collusion and Russiagate and then Ukrainegate and just this whole, it's like for Trump's, whether you love him or hate him, for the past 4 years, the opposition party's been trying to get him arrested or impeached or kicked out of office. And, I'm starting to think that even though there are plenty of Republican governors who are going along with the shutdown, some of the biggest, most vocal people in favor of the shutdown have been a lot of blue state governors. And Trump has been running on basically, Trump, if a coronavirus didn't happen, he'd be running up against either Bernie or Biden, most likely Biden, and the economy would still be good. I mean, good as well as this our messed up voodoo economic society could be, but now that the economy is, the Dow Jones was up at record highs, but now that's that's not the case, and Trump is going to have to fight to get reelected. And they pulled a lot of dirty tricks here, at least the Obama administration did. And I want to talk about, because if they're willing to go through this level of corruption to get to you're right, General Flynn was a Democrat, right? He was part of Obama's cabinet, and then he disagreed with essentially what the government was funding and arming ISIS. And then he was part of, I think he was going to be Trump's national security advisor, and then he just got railroaded by these people. And recently, there's just so much to. That's why I call it a soap opera, because you have to be watching and such. But I think this article does a good job of summarizing it. So Democrats and their allies who like to pretend that President Obama's only scandalous act was wearing a tan suit are going to spend the next few months gaslighting the public by focusing on the most feverish accusations against Obama. But the fact is that we already have more compelling evidence that the Obama administration engaged in misconduct than we ever did for opening the Russian collusion investigation. It is not conspiracy mongering to note that the investigation into Trump was predicated on an opposition research document filled with fabulism and most likely Russian disinformation. Now, this is the Clinton bought and paid for Russian collusion, delusion, dirty dossier, the one where the one that BuzzFeed published that said that Trump was engaging in degenerate sex practices with Russian hookers in a hotel room. So the entire. Yeah, but even the author of the what they call the Steele dossier couldn't, when all these people who were saying that it was actually, and I saw the footage of it, all of these politicians who were saying, oh, this is real, this is why we need the FISA warrant, under oath, none of them could say that they believed anything in it. So when when they're held under oath, they say something totally different than what they say on the television. It was based we have proof that many of the relevant FISA warrant applications, almost every one of them actually, were based off fabricated evidence or riddled with errors. We know that members of the Obama administration who
what were these warrants for?
They were to spy on the Trump campaign.
Okay.
And the Obama administration, who had no genuine role in counterintelligence operations, repeatedly unmasked Trump allies, which means if there's like a transcript that they got, they unmasking is putting a name to whoever they were recording on the transcript.
Okay.
My understanding of it, right? Live is convoluted. And we know that despite a dearth of evidence, the FBI railroaded Michael Flynn into a guilty plea so it could keep the investigation going. And so to show you the difference between how Michael Flynn was treated, the FBI told him that they just wanted to ask him a few questions and he didn't need a lawyer.
They lie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they lied.
They will tell everybody that.
Because he got a date wrong or he did something. He said something that wasn't
entirely correct. If you tell a lie
correct.
to them, then they can charge you for that, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, even if it's not related to what they're talking to you about. So that's
right.
what happened. Compared to Hillary Clinton, she was allowed to have a whole team of lawyers with her, and they let her off like anyone else. If someone wasn't in her position, because, I've had family who've explained it to me who've had to have security clearances. If any of them did what she did, there would have been charges brought. But because Comey phrased it a certain way, she got off on it. And now I continue. And this started at least with Obama, it was way before Trump. By 2016, the Obama administration's intelligence community had normalized domestic spying. Obama's Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, famously lied about snooping on American citizens to Congress. Okay, he could lie to Congress, right? He could lie to the government. No, nothing happens to him.
Wasn't that after the Snowden revelations?
Yeah, around that time. His CIA director, John Brennan, oversaw an agency that felt comfortable spying on the Senate, with at least 5 of his underlings breaking into congressional computer files. His Attorney General, Eric Holder, invoked the Espionage Act to spy on a Fox News journalist, shopping his case to 3 judges until he found one who let him name the reporter as a co-conspirator. The Obama administration also spied on Associated Press reporters, Associated Press isn't exactly like a right-wing extremist outlet, right? Which a news organization called a massive and unprecedented intrusion. And though it's been long forgotten, Obama officials were caught monitoring the conversations of members of Congress who opposed the Iran nuclear deal. And so what makes anyone believe that these people wouldn't create a pretext to spy on the opposition party?
You would just have to be ignorant to believe that.
Well, exactly, yeah. And one thing that I think is a shame in the journalism field, and actually I interviewed one of my professors on my terrestrial show back when I still had it, and he admitted, and this guy's pretty lefty, hates Fox News and Trump and everything, but he even admitted that it was shameful that the entire journalism community, or at least the mainstream journalism community, gave Obama a carte blanche to do whatever he wanted when he persecuted whistleblowers.
Sure.
He pulled this aforementioned stuff. And, and so just because I'm pointing out something bad that Obama did doesn't necessarily mean that Trump is an angel himself. But
it
I just got to say,
doesn't mean that Trump's not doing the exact same thing.
I haven't seen evidence.
Yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we haven't had a whistleblower come out. WikiLeaks said, at least back before the election, WikiLeaks said that anything damning that Trump said, he said in public, like in front of the cameras.
Mm-hmm. So they didn't have anything to release on him, basically.
Yeah, which I find that suspicious.
Well, and Trump used to like WikiLeaks until he got elected.
Yeah, and then he, just like Roger Stone and maybe Michael Flynn, right? If he doesn't give him a pardon, Trump just sort of, let him go under the bus. I mean, I forgot this at the time. Apparently, even Sean Hannity interviewed with Julian Assange before Assange was persecuted to the extent that he is now. So here we go. In her very last hour in office, National Security Advisor Susan Rice, who they're running her as a potential Joe Biden running mate, sent a self-preserving email to herself, noting that she'd attended a meeting with the president, Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates, FBI Director James Comey, and Vice President Joe Biden, in which Obama stressed that everything in the investigation should proceed by the book. And I appreciate the offer asked this question. Did high-ranking Obama administration officials not always conduct such investigations by the book? Right? But like 15 minutes after Trump had been sworn in, that they have to send that. And there's that's about it to that. I just wanted to go over, and this is way worse than I'd say it's on par with what Nixon did. Oh yeah, that was it. So skeptics are asking, they say that Obama had nothing to do with it because he had no motive because they were sure they were going to win with Hillary Clinton. But the offer reminds us Richard Nixon won 49 states in 1972, and he felt the need to send his cronies to literally physically break into the DNC office and touch off Watergate. But as the FBI agents involved in the case noted, they wanted to have an quote insurance policy if the unthinkable happened. And a lot of the reason why we know so much about this and know that they were malicious is because they had a lot of their text messages between each other, right? Like was it Peter Strzok and Lisa Page? I think these two FBI agents were having a romantic relationship, and as soon as Trump won, they were immediately drawing up plans to get him out of office. They said they had an insurance plan, and it's what they call a soft coup. I mean, it's Well, I know we have different, we disagree on like the deep state, Ian. Like, it's not to imply that the deep state is like, oh, that's the bad state and the regular state's the good state. But there's different factions in here fighting for power. And that's why I think it's important at least to pay a little bit of attention to what's going on in Washington, D.C. Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in. It's been a great episode tonight. And we will see you all tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. This is Free Talk Live.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this